Okay, I think I'm live. I've been actually automating behind the scenes how quickly I go live, so now I just click start stream, and normally I have to go into YouTube, click start stream, so it's a little bit more spontaneous, but that doesn't matter to all of you. You're all here for the wins, and I'm excited to go through all of them with each of you today. If I go over to the forum, actually the first comment is our highlight of the week, which is about RSS, ditching algorithms, why you might want to do that. And that is going to be our main highlight showcase win that I will go through with all of you. A lot to unpack there, so definitely stick around. But we have a lot of other wins to go through and a pretty typical format that we've been sticking to. Less wins than we have had in the past, so we should be able to get through them pretty quickly. And then we can all hang out in the live chat. So I'll go ahead and give you all a few minutes here to get settled, share it around with friends, family. If you're in any communities that talk about any similar stuff, definitely share it along with them so we can get more and more people involved with this. I wanted to go ahead and shout out some people who are already here. A lot of people actually left comments way before the stream started, so technically Danny Phantom was first. And then we have Digo Joga, Atticus, Wix, Matthew, Wix again. Do not know how to say that, unfortunately, but appreciate you being on. And then we have Unknow, who may be alive, we don't know yet. Call Me Player, Darude Sandworm, and Sir Wolf, Dick Rutan, Tony, and Kisku. Welcome all. We already have about 50 people here. I'll give it a few more minutes. How's everyone doing? Happy Friday, or for some of you, probably actually Saturday. Excited for the weekend. And yeah, I don't have many updates in my personal life. It's been really consistent and just pretty same stuff back here. So not too much to report, but very excited, as I always am, to talk about the wins. I'm seeing here, Manstral says, hey there, Henry. It's nice to have you. Greg says hi. Tony says hi. Welcome, everybody. And all right, we have a few more people here, so I'm going to go ahead and just give the breakdown. Sir Wolf says hi. Hello. So the way we're going to do this, as we have been doing, is I'm going to go through each win on our forum. So we're going to start with the highlight win, which is going to be about getting away from algorithms, why you might want to do so. I'm going to talk about your options and things that I've used and done to kind of help me on that journey. After we get through all the wins, I'm going to go ahead and just spend some time with you all in the live chat. So you can start leaving your wins now if you'd like. And I will get back to any questions or any wins that you want to showcase in the live chat once I'm done through the forum. The forum is always first. If you want your question or something to be like definitely prioritized, we are on XMR chat, so you can leave that on xmrchat.com. What you do is you just send a little bit of Monero, and then we'll be able to see it. Or you can do great timing, Johnny, that's crazy. Or you can do what Johnny just did, and you can do a super chat, and I will definitely be sure to showcase any questions or anything there. Thank you so much, Johnny. That's freaking awesome. Let's give that a heart. Give Johnny some likes, and yeah, that's just awesome. So thank you, Johnny. Johnny's, yeah, I'd love to know and talk to you, Johnny, at some point, because this is like the 5th time I think you've done this. So yeah, huge thanks. Thank you, Johnny. And with that said, let's dive into, I get really rambly sometimes, especially when there's like a big live chat. I get excited. Anyway, let's go ahead and touch on the highlight of the week, which is from Izzy, the privacy lurker on our forum. You can join the next week's privacy wins already down in the description. And they pretty much said, I have officially started to hop on the RSS train to avoid algorithms. YouTube and Reddit are the only billionaire-controlled social media I still find myself trapped in, and luckily, as of right now, they both support RSS. So I'm going, some of you already know about this, and I'm really happy for you all. But I want to really start this off as somebody who might have just heard about these for the first time. RSS is like really, really old tech, very legacy, but it is still just held up so well. If you've ever listened to a podcast, you've actually used RSS. The entire podcast world is built on RSS. So what happens is you follow a podcast, and then what happens is that podcast host, the person behind the scenes, pretty much uploads a podcast to their podcast host, which updates their feed. And that feed is an RSS feed, and all your podcast client is doing is just checking that feed to see if there's any updates to it every time you open the app. And then what happens if they find an update is they download the file and then they give it to you. So the cool thing about RSS is that you actually choose exactly what to subscribe to. It's kind of like subscribing to a YouTube channel, except you don't have to do it through YouTube. So I actually don't ever subscribe to YouTube channels. Like if I go to watch YouTube, I don't open YouTube. I have an RSS client that I go ahead and enter every single YouTube channel that I want to follow, and then every time I open the client, it checks those YouTube channels for updates. Now, why might you want this? The big thing here is about algorithms. So I know it's the privacy wins, but this is just a general tech win in general. I don't think all algorithms are inherently bad, right? Algorithms can be used for good. They could be good for discovery. You've probably found some amazing creators. You might even have found us because of algorithms. And so algorithms are not all bad. The problem with algorithms is that it takes away your autonomy to actually consume the content that you want to consume. So if you want to have a bit more ownership, if you want to have a bit more control over what you want in your feed and what kind of news you want and let's say you only want one specific source of news, but you want that news without all the other junk. You can do that with RSS. You can make it as focused or as non-focused as you possibly want. So I'm actually going to just quickly pull up my RSS feed here real quick and just list off some of the things in it. So I follow Slashdot because I really like Slashdot. I follow tons of different YouTube channels. I follow different Monero communities, and all of these things come to me in a central place in my RSS feed, so I don't have to go to 8 different sources online, check them all manually. So you can centralize all of this all in one place. You get away from those algorithms, you reclaim your time, your attention, and a lot of your privacy. Unfortunately, many platforms that rely on algorithms also rely on how you engage with the platforms, and everything you click on is literally measured so that it tries to measure how much you like particular things. Algorithms know you in some ways better than yourself. So, hopefully that gives a good breakdown. From here, let's say that you want to start getting into RSS. How do you begin? What are the different steps? The first thing is you need to find a way to actually start following different people. So YouTube actually supports RSS natively, many RSS clients, and that's probably a good place to start. In terms of clients, you have things that are like Open RSS that can give you an RSS link. I really like Reader if you're on iOS and macOS, R-E-E-D-E-R. If you're on Android, there's Feeder, F-E-E-D-E-R. But there are countless configurations, and definitely if you use RSS in the live chat, go ahead and drop your RSS client, your favorite one, and then you all can go check some of those recommendations out. So if you're listening here and you use RSS, drop your RSS client in the live chat. You're just gonna pick one that you like, and you're gonna start importing links. You're gonna see how it works, and it's gonna fetch updates, and it's gonna show you the newest posts, and then you don't even have to go on the site. Many of them have built-in reader modes, and it's just the most focused way to consume content while still maintaining a sense of sanity. Now, I have some tips for all of you. First, some platforms don't like RSS. Twitter is a fantastic example. If you use Twitter, Twitter does not like you following people from outside the platform. And you might be wondering, well, what's wrong with that? I just want to get updates. Isn't that beneficial to them? Well, not typically, because RSS allows you to pretty much fetch stuff without you going on the platform. If you actually open Twitter and try to find a particular tweet or find your account, then you're gonna have to go through all the crap that they put in Twitter to keep you engaged on the platform. So you're gonna go through the trending page, you're gonna be recommended similar tweets, similar accounts, everything on these platforms, and I'm picking on Twitter, but YouTube does this, Reddit does this, every major platform that has algorithms is incentivized by engagement and the amount of time that you spend on the platform. So this is why people use things like RSS. Now, there are ways to still get around this if you really want to follow a Twitter account. So if you do something like go through a knitter instance, N-I-T-T-E-R, a common one right now is called xcancel. So you just, if you go to x.com, just do xcancel.com, and you can leave the rest of the URL the same, and it'll take you to a front end that allows you to view the tweet. And actually, if you click on the profile, you can follow specific Twitter accounts through Xcancel. They have an RSS button that you can use. YouTube, again, you can just use the YouTube channel, and this is a really easy way to kind of get around these little restrictions out there. Reddit has been cracking down on this to some extent, but you should still be able to follow things through Reddit front ends as well. And I know there's things like, I think Redlib, R-E-D-L-I-B, which you should be able to use to kind of get around these. So that way you can go in, copy the RSS link, put it in your RSS feed, and then you're done. So those are kind of my tips. Now to actually go to, I feel like I rambled a lot, but I really hope I gave good context. The Privacy Lurker, great stuff. I'm really glad, you know, it's hard to be perfect, so you're probably going to have to use at least 1 or 2 platforms with algorithms, so you don't have to go all or nothing. But I think just general rule of thumb, the more that you can own the content and have more ownership and a bit more control over the content you consume, the better off you're going to be. And it's better for your privacy, it's better for your mental sanity, and it's better for so many things. So congrats. They went with NewsBlur as their RSS client. They said it's web-based and open source. There are a million other ones. And also, if you go here, some people also recommended some like Discord, apparently you can use for your RSS feeds. There's Feeder for Android, which I recommended. You can use Nextcloud. There's Cappy Reader, Fresh RSS, Cappy, Read You. You can actually use Knitter, kind of like I said, for Twitter. There's Fluent Reader, Redlib Dead. Yeah, so there's different Redlib instances. I've been using SafeReddit.com recently, so if you're on Reddit and you want a way to access it privately, SafeReddit is the way to do that. So let me go ahead and pull that up. So here's SafeReddit, and here's my demo for all of you. I'm gonna go ahead and hide myself so I can show you what it's like. I'm pretty sure you can do this on SafeReddit. So I'm on SafeReddit.com. It's a Redlib, so this is actually Reddit. And then here's mildly infuriating, and this is very sad, a 12-year-old son, but let's say you want to follow mildly infuriating. You're going to go here, and there is no like RSS icon, but if you just go up and you copy this link, SafeReddit.com, here, let me show you. If you just copy that link up there and you post it into an RSS client, it should work. And then I will go ahead and demo for you the same thing for Knitter. Knitter's a little bit easier. So we're going to do xcancel.com, and I'm going to show you how to follow us, Techlore, through RSS. Sometimes it takes a sec because these things have to be. So here, we have Techlore. And then you're going to go to our account, and you're going to see here, there's a little RSS icon on the top. And that link is xcancel.com/techloreinc/RSS. If you paste that into any RSS client, you can actually follow us without needing a Twitter account and without any algorithms, and you literally just get a feed of everything we post. And you can do this with any other Twitter account. So yeah, that's my pro tip for all of you. And I hope that's helpful. Let me go ahead and add myself back here. Boom. And with that said, let me go ahead and continue. So they had another one, which is after much pestering on my part, my best friend has finally deleted Twitter, which means she's no longer on big tech social platforms. So congrats, huge win for many of the reasons I talked about earlier. It's not just a privacy thing, but it is very much also privacy. So massive win, good job, and I'm glad that I could hopefully like teach people about RSS. And also on our forum, I just want to give you guys all the resources possible if you're still confused. There is an RSS guide, so if you just go to our forum, discuss.techlore.tech, we have here how to use RSS as a guide, and it kind of goes through all of the things I just told you. So you have different clients that you can pick, and then there's mobile, there's iOS, there's web-based, and then again, there's like kind of get started feeds. But again, you can kind of reuse anything to be an RSS, and this is how you can follow news. And if you ever wonder how we get news for Surveillance Report or how I keep up with news, it's all through RSS. So that is all I'll say about RSS today. Let's see here, Unknown Ghost. So my phone runs Linux now. You might have seen in my lounge post that I had a touchscreen issue in Postmarket OS, which I believe is a mobile Linux distro / operating system. They gave up and installed 5-year-old version of Ubuntu Touch on it. That is old. The initial experience was horrible. There's no apps in Open Store, and it does not have a built-in way to install apps from other sources. But it's Linux. It doesn't have free will. It can't stop me. So I made the root partition writable, installed Nix, which is a programming language. With Nix, you can essentially configure your entire desktop operating system and like save that as like a GitHub file on your GitHub account, and you can install a brand new, operating system, and then you can point it at that file, and it'll configure your laptop for you essentially. So it's like a all-in-one place to store your desktop configuration. It'll automatically install all your packages, all your settings, everything. It's super cool. So they also set up a home manager, and then Linux has an amazing property. They do everything themselves. There is a gigantic downside. They have to do everything themselves though. So it doesn't currently phone or work, but they're working on it. So it seems like more of a DIY project. I don't even think Unknown Ghost is recommending that all of you actually try to do what they did. So definitely, that is not the takeaway for this privacy win. I would rephrase this personally as saying this is a great way to just tinker and figure out how things work. Sometimes things just kind of suck. I have some Linux phones here that kind of suck. But they're great for tinkering with. I get to learn things from them. I get to break things on them. And honestly, it doesn't really matter because they already are not in a great place as is. And so you can go ahead and tinker, learn things, grow, and then you can implement whatever you learn into the rest of your digital workflow. Highly recommend experimenting. You will learn something and you will implement something from it eventually, even if it doesn't feel like it's helpful in the short term. So congrats. Grand External says they want to research this more. They consume a lot of YouTube. Yeah, especially if you're somebody who struggles to if you find yourself lost on these platforms for hours on end, I think things like RSS are just super important. And if you can't do RSS, see if there's a way to do something with chronological timelines. Like even Twitter has a chronological timeline, so you can only view so much before you run out of things that you follow. Of course, there's still other things in the Twitter UI that are designed to still keep you engaged, but that still helps. Got some friends on Signal by using get away from social media as the reason. My friend group and I all respect anyone who wants to use social media less. So congrats. And a big win getting people on Signal. I know that's been a recurring win that we see each week. So yeah, it's always a big win. Hard to do, but not unattainable and definitely possible. It just takes a bit of commitment and finding what clicks with each individual person. Let's see, requested on F-Droid and Fallon Gallery using Fallon API, which I'm willing to help with if any code stuff is needed. Hopefully I can get some people to make it, even if it's just man, I'm struggling to read today. Even if it is just inspiration. Anyone here checking out my post to let me know if it's possible would be very helpful. I believe that could help Fallon gain some usability for people like myself wanting a non-subscription, cloud-based, and end-to-end encrypted photo storage. So if you know anything about this and you feel like you can help, definitely try to get involved, and there is a post there that you can locate. I'm going to go ahead and do one more and then check in with all of you in the live chat. So let's go through Techlore armored pixels. So they support what we do, which is awesome. I think we're only a couple people away from our next Techlore goal. I think we need 2 more Techloreans. I think we're at 23 right now, so it's really exciting. But they said they finally made the jump and initiated the deletion of Facebook, Instagram, and Snapchat accounts. Awesome stuff. I know how long that can take, especially because you downloaded your account data, and some of these have massive wait times to actually get you your data and actually go through the deletion process. So massive patience, massive props, and just good stuff all around. They uploaded it to Proton Drive for safekeeping. At some point, they'll go through and add the photos from these accounts to Ente, which is an end-to-end encrypted photos storage provider. They still have LinkedIn, but their personal social media is just Mastodon and PixelFed now. So they are all in on the Fediverse, which I think if you are going to use social media at all, which you don't have to, I do think the federated platforms tend to be quite a bit better for your privacy in terms of being open, in terms of respecting general open source philosophies. etc. Like, I just hands down think that the technology is best with these platforms, and align most with the general philosophy that I'm gonna try to promote on our channels, which is openness. Why am I blanking on these? Openness, open source, decentralization, hosting your own data, owning your own data. Like, these are all the ideals that Mastodon and PixelFed kind of stand for. Now, to kind of move on from there, they say that they factory reset their MacBook Pro to do a clean install of only the apps they use. They've used Homebrew before, but didn't realize how well it supports GUI applications. So besides free file sync, they were able to download everything via Homebrew. While they were planning to move to Linux, oh, sorry, I didn't realize it was off on the screen there. While I'm planning to move to Linux at some point, installing all my apps via Homebrew makes it really easy to reinstall apps if I decide to stick with a MacBook. Yeah, so Homebrew is actually pretty polarizing. If you haven't used Homebrew, it's a package manager for macOS, and you might be wondering why you'd want that. Well, the cool thing about the App Store on macOS is it handles automatic updates for you, and you don't have to update each program individually. You just open it up and say, update all, or it does it automatically in the background. And that's what Homebrew does, but for programs outside of the App Store. So theoretically, you can install all of your apps inside Homebrew, and then you can manage them in one place. They get updated in one place, and it's super convenient. The only issue with Homebrew is I've definitely seen some legitimate security concerns with it. Nothing major enough where I'd say don't use Homebrew, and I actually use Homebrew myself for some things. So definitely not like avoid at all costs, just something to think in mind. Something to keep in mind if you're working with like highly sensitive machines or a highly sensitive piece of software where you want slightly better trust with like the software supply chain. So just different things to think about there. But either way, I know it feels great to like factory reset a computer, start from scratch, and only install what you need, and it just feels super clean. So yeah. And oh my gosh, we got a new privacy supporter, Sunrose Sec. Welcome aboard. Definitely feel free to leave any comments or questions, and I'd love to prioritize that. So we got 2 people who have now contributed. We had Johnny O, we have Sunrose Sec. Thanks, guys. Super appreciated. And it's actually really frustrating because we have, I think, like 5 or 6 members now for the privacy supporters on YouTube, but YouTube doesn't show them on our channel page unless we have 8. So that is not a limitation on my end, but eventually we will get 8, and then you will all be listed on our homepage. And I really want to hit that so we can feature you guys, but we're like a few people away, and once that's done, then the limit is hit, and then there's people on our homepage. Anyway, you brought us closer to that, so I really appreciate it. Continuing the wins before I go back to the live chat, I'm going to try switching from JetBrains IDEs to VS Codium, which is a free and open source version of Visual Studio Code. Besides being FOSS, VS Codium does its best to opt out of Microsoft telemetry that comes pre-enabled, and then they have lots of other very technical stuff for their code editor, which I know can be a pain in the ass to set up, so congrats, and it's a very personal preference. I actually didn't like VS Code when I used it, but that's a hot take because everyone loves VS Code, and I've heard great things about VS Codium. So congrats. And also, all of you listening, drop your favorite text editor if you're listening. I always feel embarrassed about this because I feel like it's such a noob text editor, but I'm still on Sublime, and I love Sublime. So yeah, leave your favorite text editor. Very polarizing stuff for some reason, but I'd love to hear. And then they got their dad, this is the last win, to switch over to Signal since he doesn't have an iPhone. Take advantage of that stuff, guys. If you're on different operating systems, this is literally the easiest selling point for Signal. Be like, oh, you're maybe in the US. If you're outside the US, I get people have already done that with WhatsApp. But if you're in the US especially, and you have like someone who's on iOS, but you have Android or vice versa, be like, oh, let's just move something that's supported on both operating systems. You'll see Signal. That way it doesn't matter what phone you're using. And I think that's always just been a consistent win for me for people who don't need to be sold on Signal. They just need a place to communicate with basic compatibility for 2 users. So congrats. And then we got another person here. We got Smoke and Reload. Thank you so much. We got 3 like big pieces of support here, so I really appreciate it, guys. And I love to see like the engagement as well on all of this. So again, Sunrosec, Smoke and Reload, Johnny O. If you guys have any questions, comments, definitely leave them. I'd love to go ahead and address those if you have any. Otherwise, love the support and literally couldn't do it without you guys. So thank you so much. And we got some editor responses here. Let's see what we got. We got Zed. I have tried Zed. I didn't dislike it. So Zed was pretty nice. Let's see. Let me move this so it's more visible for me. Let's go back and see if I missed any questions from you guys. Oh, let me go to this screen here. Happy weekend from Sir Wolf. RSS is a good thing to always have the latest news without using an algorithm that collects your data. Totally agree. Sup, privacy freaks? Hello, yo, yo, yo. Henry is live. Thank you, Neil. Of course, we had Johnny O here. What rhymes with nice? Win 10 or Windows 11? Is that a question? I will say, you guys might have seen this in my community posts on YouTube. A big update from Windows is they formally went ahead and emailed people that are still on Windows 10 and told them, hey guys, yeah, starting in October, you guys aren't gonna have support. We know your hardware is perfectly valid, but you guys can't upgrade to Windows 11. So tough luck. And they literally say, like, there's a little Q&A section essentially, and it says, well, what do I do with my old laptop? And the answer is, try donating it to, you know, an organization or trade it in for a new device. Like, I wish I was making this up. That's literally their answer. So they're pretty much telling you, the user, if you're on Windows 10, yeah, we're not letting you upgrade to Windows 11, but please buy a new machine so you can use Windows 11. We're not gonna let you upgrade. And I'm pissed about this because right next to me, I have a very nice desktop with a GTX, I think it's a 1060 or 1070. It has a Intel i7 6700K. It's a dated machine, right? And I think it has either 16 or 32 gigs of RAM. I don't know. It's mostly offline and I just use it for gaming. But my point is they literally won't let me upgrade this desktop to Windows 11. And I think that's a joke because it's perfectly functioning. It runs regular AAA games perfectly fine. There is nothing that's like unattainable. This can run intense games. It can run Windows 11. So I'm just really pissed about that. I think that's really crappy of Microsoft. And I think really the only takeaway, if you want that machine to get a second life and keep it going, you need to install Linux on it. Otherwise, you're just gonna be running outdated Windows. So kind of your options are to keep it like a very offline, high-risk device, or put Linux on it and give it another wave of life. And I think that's the way to go in this specific scenario. I don't normally have just like a clear-cut recommendation solution because normally I'm like, well, here's different options. Go ahead and pick which works best for you. But I mean, Microsoft has trapped you in the corner, not me. So that is my suggestion to you. If you have an old device, consider Windows or consider Linux. If you can't move to Linux, try dual booting. If you can't do that, keep the device as long as you can, assuming that it is a little bit less safe once it stops getting security updates. But at that point, if you can't use Linux, unironically, yeah, you're gonna have to get a new machine because I can't recommend people use devices without security updates. That's got a lot of risks involved. Tell me about free cloud storage. That's a big topic. I will actually recommend you to a video I made recently. Just type it into YouTube. I don't think you even have to say Techlore, just say how to stay private on a budget. How to stay private on a budget. That is what I can recommend to you. It talks about cloud storage, and I already break down literally all the different ways to get cloud storage cheap and privately. And people love that video. Very well regarded video. And I think that I feel very comfortable pushing you to that video, not just for cloud storage, but everything else in your privacy journey on a budget. Just said that to you. You don't need to leave questions twice, not necessary. Yes, RIP. Ooh, I don't know the dates for things. You know, I should know those like random facts of like, oh, this happened on this date. But yeah, these are all pretty ancient. So I don't know which is oldest. I would guess that IRC or RSS is oldest, but yeah, here, why don't we look it up? RSS, Wikipedia, SMS, Wikipedia, and then we have IRC, Wikipedia. I'm opening them in the background so then we can find out together. So, one sec. OBS is struggling. I'm gonna go ahead and hide us here. So we have RSS. Initial release, 1999, March 1999, okay? We have SMS. Let's see, initial concept, early development. The first SMS message was sent in 1992. So it looks like 1992, 1993, it was commercial. So SMS beats RSS. Now IRC. Let's see, introduction 1988. All right, so we have the order. IRC is the oldest. I didn't know it was that old. And then we have SMS, and then we have RSS. So the more we know. Now you know the answer to that if that ever comes up in a conversation. Let's see. New win. Okay, we got a win from Call Me Player. Again, you guys can leave wins in the live chat as well. Figured out how to self-host with my own hardware using a cloud VPS to tunnel the traffic from my local host to my domain name. Plan to run a PeerTube server focused on music. Awesome stuff. If you're wondering what that means, essentially what this person did is okay, let me just make sure I got this right. So you figured out self-host your own hardware using a cloud VPS to tunnel the traffic from my local host to my domain name. So they set up their own cloud VPS so they can connect to this with their domain. Let's say it's callmeplayer.com. So they can connect to it and they can access anything they need for their server. And then they can run a PeerTube. So for example, they can host all their own files, all their own videos on this VPS, and they can access it with like callmeplayer.com, and it pretty much will just look like PeerTube. So really cool stuff and big win, and I'd love to hear what you're using it for. So yeah, you say you plan to run a PeerTube server, but if you've already done anything else with the server and the domain name, definitely go ahead and share. I think it'd be cool. And to see the use cases for what you have this for, because it's pretty infinite what you could do with that. Let's see. Oh, we already went through all the RSS clients. Let's see. It's a privacy channel, no? Yeah, Redlib works in some instances. Yeah, I use SafeReddit as well. It's always my default. And then sometimes SafeReddit doesn't work, and there's a button that's like, link me to a random instance, and then sometimes it'll link me there. So I think that's the best advice. They use Obtainium to install apps. Is there something I should keep in mind or settings to change? Yeah, so, okay, I'm gonna do a quick breakdown here. App stores, I think, are fantastic. But they can fail in terms of resiliency, or they can bring up privacy concerns. So for example, on Apple's App Store and Google's Play Store, you have to sign into an account and you have to tie every installation for your software to a centralized account. And typically you have payment methods attached to this and other actual PII attached to this as well, personally identifiable information. And what that means is Apple and Google can build a very nice portfolio of everything you use. And that might not seem like a big deal, but that is a big privacy concern. If you ever downloaded a dating app that you don't want someone else to know about, or you don't want it linked to your identity, or you ever download something like a religious app that you don't want tied to your identity, like all of these things are valid reasons that you don't want those to be tied to your identity. There should be a way to delete those installations from your account. And to my knowledge, there's no way to do that, at least on the iOS side of things. It's like permanently seen as a downloaded app previously. Now, you can get around this by using things like F-Droid, which have better privacy in mind, and they're also fairly resilient. But what if something's not an F-Droid? Or what if something is open source, but you don't want to use a centralized app store? You don't like F-Droid for whatever reason. Obtainium, what it does is it's an app that you install. You can install this on any Android device. It doesn't have to be rooted. It doesn't have to have a custom ROM. You can do this on any Android phone. Install Obtainium. You can get it from its website or I think on F-Droid. And then what happens is you essentially just add like a GitHub repo. Just as an example, you can add different websites, but most open source projects post their releases on GitHub. A good example of this is Cakewallet. So I do marketing for Cakewallet, and I just did a big blog post about what I'm talking about here. And in that blog post, I pretty much show like, okay, you just go on GitHub, go to Cakewallet's GitHub repo, copy the link, put it in Obtainium, and then how I mentioned RSS at the beginning of this, of this live stream? That's what Obtainium does. It literally just like pings GitHub, sees if there's a new Cakewallet APK. You can do this with Signal, you can do this with iVPN, you can do this with Mullvad VPN, you can do this with literally pretty much any open source project that we talk about that is on Android. That also is open source. And what it does is it just automatically installs that piece of software in the background for you. Why you might want this? Because you literally don't have an app store. So super cool. As for things to keep in mind or settings to change, the default settings should be pretty good, and I would go through it and see if there's anything you want to change for yourself. It's mostly personal preference. Just to make sure you're getting the right link. There are fake repos out there with malware, so there is a little bit more, you know, since you don't have Apple and Google and all these people kind of sifting through your software to make sure it's safe and make sure that it's coming from a verified publisher, you just have to make sure you put in that upfront work. But once you add the right link, you shouldn't have to do anything and you should be pretty well off. The only possible thing that could go wrong is like if a developer's GitHub account gets compromised and then they upload a malicious APK to GitHub, you will get that malicious APK. Theoretically, a centralized entity like Google or Apple might be able to pick up on that risk before it ends up on your device, but that's not a guarantee. But those are kind of the different things I would think about with Obtainium. Overall, fantastic. It's a super resilient way to get software. It's censorship free, essentially. Like, you know, there's no app to be banned off any platform. You literally are just getting an app from the website. So as long as their GitHub repo is up, and even if GitHub takes it down, theoretically someone can fork the repo somewhere else on like GitLabs and you can still use Obtainium. So super resilient way to get apps. I hope I didn't talk everyone's ears off. Let's see. Are you going to make a video about your system on your phone, the privacy settings you use in the system, and the apps you use and recommend the most? Yeah, I think it's really tough to do this, mainly because like I also have my own privacy journey and I don't want to just showcase everything I do in my personal life. So it's this really weird thing that I have to juggle of like, okay, like I need to be personal, I need to be real with everybody of what the journey looks like because I'm a real person that also goes on the journey and has my own beliefs and things that I struggle with and my challenges. But I can only share those so much because I also have my own privacy journey and goals, and if I make everything public, then I'm kind of screwed myself, right? So it's a very weird rope to walk. With that said, I have definitely done quite a few things. Like you can watch my digital minimalism video where I show my phone and like different ways that I've configured it to be more minimal. But generally speaking, I think if I was to make this video, because again, I try to talk more about like the digital rights and not about me. Like sometimes I'll use me in my stories to help talk about it, but I'm not here to make the channel about me. I'm here to make the channel about digital rights. So if me sharing a personal story helps in that journey, then I tend to do it. But otherwise, it's not really about me as much as it is about what I'm talking about. So just different things I think about, and ultimately it's just hard to showcase everything I do. What I think is the better approach is what we currently do, which is I just make the guides, right? So you can check out, we've already redone Windows and Mac OS device guides where I go through like all the different settings, things to consider, different programs to use, ways to make those operating systems more private, more secure, etc. And then you go ahead and pick what works best for you. I can share what I do, and that might be interesting and you might get value from it, but ultimately what I do probably won't be exactly what you want to do. And I think that giving all those different options and letting you decide is the better approach. That's kind of how I do things. I hope that gives some context. Oh, that jumped. Oh, that's funny, Neil. Yeah. Okay, well, either way, I answered your question, which was not actually what you meant to say. Let's see. What do you guys think about Ente Photos for syncing and backing up photos privately? I don't know if you're asking me or the live chat, but I've used it and I think it's pretty solid. Definitely, like, I think the best, most usable alternative to like Google Photos that has end-to-end encryption and that is open source. I haven't found something that makes it quite as easy and seamless. So overall seems really solid. Not too many complaints on my end, but it sounds like you're asking other people, so other people can chime in too. And then again, I just wanted to give a massive shout out to Johnny O and to Sunrosec and Smoke and Reload for supporting us. Seriously, like awesome stuff. I really can't like thank you guys enough, especially Johnny O. Like that's just so much help and you've done it so many times now, so thank you. And I think, I don't know what number that brings us to. Let me look it up. But I mentioned earlier how we don't have channel members on our homepage, and that's because we don't have 8, because YouTube requires 8 to showcase them on the channel homepage. So let me see if that got us there, because that would be really exciting if it did. Give me a sec. Members, see all members. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. We have 7. So we need one more. Hopefully we'll get that one soon. If we get one more, then we will have you all featured on the channel page. Just automatically, not through me. That's just a YouTube restriction. So I'm going to go ahead and pause here, and I'm going to go through some more wins. Hello, Jay. Welcome aboard. You're the second video today I've seen today that mentions Obtainium, which I've never heard before. Huge fan of F-Droid. Yes, I'm a big fan of it as well. I personally think, like, use them all. Like, there's so much, like, bickering over the best app store, but they just have objective pros and cons. Like, you know, everyone's like, I'm the best. And it's like, well, you're the best at, like, this one thing, but not this other thing. And so I personally would love to see just more, like, embracing more variety. Like, F-Droid is good for certain things. They tell you if there's anti-features in apps. They only host open source software. They also add like a third party that analyzes software to make sure it's safe before it ends up on your phone. F-Droid's awesome. There's a Crescent, but there's like no apps on it. Let's be real, there's like 20 apps. And they're good apps and it's more secure, but it's also, it can host proprietary software, and some people want an open source only ecosystem. There's Obtainium, but that's only also restricted to open source software, and it's very DIY and you have to go through it yourself. There's Aurora, which hosts apps you can't get literally anywhere else outside the Play Store. So just want to like really outline that there truly are wins across all of these app stores, and there is literally no Android limitation that says you can only have one app store. You have to pick one. You can have all 4, guys. So use all 4, try out these app stores, and I hope you guys have some fun and figure out what works best for you. Welcome, Ricardo. Yes, okay, I think that gets us to 8. Let's see if it's like an instant thing. Thank you, Ricardo. Yes, you guys are awesome. Okay, let's see, I'm gonna pull us up. Techlore, does it show all 8? I hope there's no like delay for it. Grrr, it's not showing yet, but I can show you. I'm gonna feature you guys so I can show that there are 8 people. Let's see. And then I'm gonna get back to the wins in a second, so give me a sec. I am very distracted by this now. And let's see, customization. So let me show you what I'm talking about here. Windows source, screen capture, here we go. Let's see. Window? Nope, that's the wrong one. Here we go. So you can see here 8 or more members, and then if I show you all members, see all members, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. We have all 8. So I wanted to shout out our 8 people here. Sunrosek, Smoke and Reload, Ricardo, RBQ, Shiraz, Cotwall, Sandman, Music Greats and Hits, and Robert Malkin. So hopefully whenever YouTube updates that, then we'll see all 8 of you on the dashboard. So thank you all for getting us there. You guys are awesome. And now I want to go ahead and continue with the wins. Sorry, this has been like a very distracted day, but I am committed. I'm gonna grab water real quick. Give me a second. I got my water. Oh my gosh, hello Anon, and it's your first super. Okay, hello Anon, thank you so much. Oh my God, you guys are awesome. And it's very much distracting me. Okay, but I will go ahead and answer your question right away. So Anon asks, thanks for all your advice, of course. Thank you for tuning into the stream. And yes, you guys are super nice. Jay said it, like you guys are all super nice for helping out, so thank you. You've helped me a lot and other people be more secure in everyday life. Awesome, that's the goal. How do you feel about Samsung as a company? Okay, all right. I hope I don't piss anyone off here. I have never loved Samsung as a company. Now, the reason I say that is mostly because I think Android is actually a lot more similar to iOS than people make it seem. And most of my bad relations with Samsung come from the fact that Samsung is what's become in a lot of people's minds Android, right? Like back in the day, it was, oh, iPhone or Samsung. You know, sometimes they'd say Android, but it was mostly synonymous with Samsung. And typically what you'd see from people is they either had like a Galaxy Note, a Galaxy S whatever, or an iPhone. And I think what I started hearing from people is, oh, Android devices, they're so ugly, they're so bloated, I can't figure out how to use them, they have all these features that I don't care for, I just want my phone to work. Therefore, I like iPhone. The thing is, all of those complaints are like, at least I know Samsung has gotten better over the years, but those are all Samsung complaints. If anyone actually got like back then, like a Nexus, if someone ever got like a Nexus 5X or a Nexus 6P or the previous versions of those phones, they wouldn't have probably had those complaints because those phones were pretty much just like iPhones. Like they're bare bones, they're simple, they're minimal, they weren't that hard to use. They're not the same as iPhone, so coming from an iPhone, there is a learning curve, but I think it's Samsung that really gave Android a bad rep of just bloating the operating system beyond belief, installing tons of crapware and things that just didn't work well, having these needless features that nobody wanted, and it was just kind of slow and kind of obnoxious to use. And I never had those experiences with a Pixel. And I feel like people I know who actually tried Pixels go, okay, this is pretty okay. Like they might not love it as much as their iPhone, but they thought it was okay. So that's where a lot of my like Samsung hatred kind of comes from, is I feel like it's really tainted the Android world and it's made it harder for people to see Android as a real alternative to iOS. The other thing I don't like about Samsung is that there's just a lot of things they don't need to do that are in some ways privacy invasive. Like they just have a lot more telemetry. I don't like how they have their own ecosystem on top of Google's ecosystem. There's like Samsung Health and Google Health, and you can have both on the same phone. There's the Samsung browser, there's the Google browser, there's Samsung Messages, there's Google Messages, and it's just a really messy ecosystem. And I also just don't think Samsung's ecosystem is that great. Like, I don't want like a Samsung phone to ping me about my Samsung laundry machine finishing, if that makes sense. So I see those kind of integrations, but not like really, really good, well thought out integrations that I want to see. So those are my general thoughts on Samsung. With that said, in fairness to Samsung, you know, it probably is like the second or third most likely Android device for me to buy because there is a well-established company behind it. I also do want to shout out Samsung for committing to really long security updates on their devices. And I think they actually beat Google to the punch by beating 5 years before Google. So, you know, they are still doing some good things. It's not like the world's worst company. I just think that they can do things quite a bit better, and they could just be better. They were in such a good position to be like the Android version of Apple, and they not only just like threw that opportunity away, but they also kind of permanently damaged the Android reputation. So there you go. I hope I answered that. I really appreciate the tip that you sent along, and I'm really glad that anything I've been doing has been helping you on your journey. So I really appreciate it, and answering your question is the least I can do. So there you go. I'm gonna go ahead and go back to the wins so we can go ahead and wrap these up, and then I can go ahead and spend as much time as I want with you guys in the live chat. So here, let me close this window. It's distracting me. Okay. So CosmoCat said they started moving from 1Password to Bitwarden. 1Password, these are both password managers. 1Password is proprietary, Bitwarden is open source, and they kind of say that. They've tried Bitwarden in the past as it's open source, but Bitwarden's new UI finally got me to switch. I still need to test Bitwarden's new UI because that's previously why I didn't love Bitwarden. And I'm still skeptical if I'll like Bitwarden, but in fairness to them, I never loved 1Password's interface either, but I just know that's a really hot take because people really love 1Password's usability. So I think that's mostly a me problem. But either way, I'm really glad Bitwarden's UI got you to switch. From what I've seen in terms of screenshots, it looks fantastic. I need to actually sit down and use it though to see what it's like. So congrats, and I'm sure it feels good. And hopefully the switch was easy. That should just be like an export-import thing, and you should be good to go. Also, probably cheaper, so congrats. They also said used to keep recovery keys and codes locally, but they finally moved them into KeePass. It works as they don't need to sync them often, and the recovery codes separate from their main password manager. Honestly, really underrated use case for KeePass. KeePass can be used alongside your regular password managers to just store things like a recovery key. Like if you have a recovery way to get into your Bitwarden, you can keep that in a KeePass database instead. So really smart use of KeePass, even though it's not your main password manager. And I'm really glad that you embraced multiple password managers. I always back here try to get people to embrace multiple things because you can use multiple things. I just ranted about the App Store thing, and I think this is another good example of that. You can use multiple of them when it's best for you. And their final win here is WhatsApp is very critical as it's used for a lot of communication. So they were looking to make it more private and secure. So they removed photo permission. Now anytime they want to share photos, they have to select them in the gallery. That's a great way to just not by default grant access to everything. They disabled link previews within WhatsApp settings. If you're curious, the link preview can have some privacy considerations because when you paste the link, WhatsApp has to actually ping the website and fetch a site preview and then display it in your browser before it sends it off. Now, there are ways to do this. I actually don't know WhatsApp's implementation. So in the example of Signal, Signal actually uses like yourself. Like you essentially are fetching on your own device and you're generating your own screenshot that you then send. That's why, and you can test this yourself. So if you use Signal, prove me wrong here. Open Signal and paste a link and send it super quickly. And what you'll notice is that there is no link there's no link preview that's generated. And it's because it's actually fetching it on your own device. So that's why when you're sending a link on Signal, you have to wait a few seconds for the link to propagate and then you can send it. But if you go on Telegram, you don't have to do that. You don't have to wait. You just send the link and then you'll see that their servers fetch it for you. I don't know how WhatsApp does this because frankly, I've never used WhatsApp. So I don't know, this could be like a super awesome win, or this could be a partial win, but either way, it's a win. So just wanted to kind of outline the nuance here with link previews and where they can be a privacy concern. For the record, I do think WhatsApp probably does what Signal does because it's end-to-end encrypted. So just wanted to get that out there. Now, they also turn off background app refresh for WhatsApp. So don't know if that's like an inherent privacy win, but either way, I hope it helps your battery life, and theoretically, it could help your privacy as well, since it's not fetching data in the background, but you should still get notifications for new texts if you disable that. So overall, sounds like you've made WhatsApp a lot better. And yeah, it could be fun actually if I made a WhatsApp privacy guide to kind of go through WhatsApp settings, actually use it myself, and give you more specific advice for WhatsApp. If you guys would like to see that, let me know, and I'd love to make it. I know I made a Signal hardening guide, so I could try to do something like that for WhatsApp too. People really like the Signal one, so if you haven't seen it, check that out. We have a Techlorian who supports us, so thank you. And they said, I now have no Google or Microsoft accounts, only connected to Google through the extensions for Brave and to Microsoft through DuckDuckGo. So that's awesome. Those are two huge accounts to get rid of. And honestly, in regards to Google, some people never do. Sometimes it's always nice to have a backup Google account. So if you ever feel the need to get those again, but they're just used, they're just used for emergencies, or if you need a Google Voice number, etc. That's always an option as well. But the fact that you just got rid of them is really impressive, so congrats. They said they wish they could happily put a no Google block list on their Little Snitch. If you haven't heard of it, Little Snitch is like a DNS filter, like a website filtering tool that you use on Mac OS, so you can see that a program accesses 8 domains. You can essentially block domains from being contacted. So what they want to do is they wanted to put a block list so that nothing on their device can connect to a Google domain. But they still need some of those connections to go through for reCAPTCHAs and stuff, but hopefully soon. So yeah, just a good reminder that even if you delete Google, you're probably going to end up using 1 or 2 Google services. Doesn't mean you shouldn't still go on the journey. Doesn't mean there aren't still benefits to getting rid of that personal Google account. But just remember that it's very hard to do, and there's always going to be some kind of reliance somewhere along the journey. They also made a shortcut on iOS to switch quickly between Proton VPN NetShield and AdGuard DNS, so that untoward connections, untoward, I assume, untoward. I'm not sure what you're trying to say there, but connections are blocked most of the time. So it sounds like you're trying to switch between the two of them. I don't know your exact configuration, but it sounds well thought out, and I'm sure it's helpful for you. I had to set an automation for my VPN just to like have it reconnect and connect when I switch to cell, because sometimes it just like, yeah, like sometimes it just doesn't connect. So like I'll move to a cell connection over Wi-Fi, and then my VPN just doesn't like reconnect, and so none of my internet works on my phone. So I set up like an automation to pretty much disconnect and reconnect the VPN automatically. Just little things like that. So I hope that is helpful for anybody, but overall, huge wins, especially the Google and Microsoft thing. And I'm like, Microsoft especially is just such a frustrating ecosystem. So I feel like there's no FOMO there. Okay, give me a sec. John D says, I haven't used social networks for a long time, except for LinkedIn. I only read professional blogs on LinkedIn and follow groups. I try to consume. There we go. Yesterday, I started thinking about how much AI I use, albeit thoughtfully and with critical thinking. I want to study the impact of AI, and so they need to read research on this. Let's see. I don't see what the win is here, but I congratulate you for wanting to dig into it. And if you find anything cool, update us on next week's. I don't know if this is a response to anything or if you were trying to showcase a win. I can't really find it. But either way, I'm really glad you're researching things, diving into it, learning more, and I'm sure you'll learn something that you can use for something else down the road because of it. Oh, yeah, Base Note said that. Maybe they'll respond. Let's see what they say. Don said, I'm really starting to work on moving my main laptop to Linux Mint. Gathering all the items I need to know beforehand sucks. I'd like to have a dual boot of Windows 11 for the few things that might need it, so that further complicates things. Oof, yeah, okay, I have some tips here. Well, I've stalled out on it. Okay, let's start with that actually then. Sounds like there's a second thing here. It's tough. I think it's really easy to sit here and tell all of you, just move to Linux or get away from Windows. It's not, it's awful. It's really easy to complain about how bad things are, and it's really hard to give people good quality solutions that will always work for them. And again, Linux is a great solution. It's going to be harder for some people than others. If you only use your computer in a web browser and you just do basic things, yeah, moving to Linux is super easy. It installs a web browser, and then you do your normal things. But if you're using Windows because you have like super niche indie games that are only supported on Windows, or you're in the Adobe ecosystem because you need it for your job and it's how you make a living, or insert 10 other possible things here, moving to Linux is a lot more of a deal for those people. So it's important for us to keep that in mind when people give legitimate reasons for not migrating to something right away. Either way, Don is doing a really good job, and I think this is the way to do it, which is you make a list of all the things that you do on your system and you start assessing, okay, which of these just work as is on Linux, right? Just put a green check mark and say, this is good. All done. And those are things you don't have to worry about. So for example, a web browser, probably good on Linux. Almost all of them are available on Linux. Doesn't matter if it's Brave, Firefox, etc. They have Linux support. That's a green check mark. Some things might, not run on Linux, or you might not know, and you might have to do testing. So maybe put like a yellow dash, and those are things that you might assess. So maybe you boot up like a Linux VM, or you get a live OS that you install on a flash drive. Boot up the Linux distro, try to install it, and see, oh, turns out this works perfectly, and then you change it to a green check mark. Or maybe you try it and you go, oh my gosh, this is ass. I don't want to use this. So then, now it's time to look for an alternative. Or maybe it's like, oh crap, there is no alternative, so this is terrible. So yeah, you have to go through these things. If you just go for it, you might get lucky and be okay, but I really recommend being very thoughtful and really much appreciate the process. It is a process. And then some things might just be an X altogether, like, oh my God, yeah, Photoshop is something I need for my work. And GIMP just doesn't do it. And I can't emulate. I tried emulating Photoshop. I tried VMs. None of it worked well enough. So I'm going to need a dual boot. Or maybe I need a second machine that's just for work, and I just keep Linux on my personal machine. So make those decisions before you go on the journey, and that way you'll be much more prepared for anything that goes wrong. And I think it sounds like Don is doing that perfectly. Highly recommend that's the approach anyone takes. Good job, Don, for doing it thoughtfully. And then they also said they've been working on their own website to use instead of Linktree. It's also free to host in the UK, etc. So really cool stuff. If anyone doesn't, like, it's really easy to build Linktree on your own. It's just basic HTML and basic CSS. But if you don't want to do this yourself and it's still too complicated, personally, I have no really incentive. I guess I do have a referral link technically, but I'm not even going to include it here. You know, like, I have no incentive. omg.lol. omg.lol is a great website. It's what I use, and you can view my website at hen.omg.lol, hen.omg.lol. I have an actual domain attached to it as well, but I'm using the omg.lol domain so you can see how it works. But it's like Linktree, and it's also tied to Mastodon, and it's a really good service, and I know the guy who runs it. He does a great job. It's super small scale stuff, and that's a way to, like, set up a web presence within like 2 minutes. And yeah, love the service. There's other ones out there like them, but that's the one I picked, and I've really loved it. So just a tip if anyone wanted to find something like that. The privacy lurker gave some advice to someone else. Let's see here. About RSS specifically. So we've talked a lot about RSS. We don't need to go back to that. We only have, it sounds like, one more here. Before we cover the last one, let me go ahead and check in on all of you, and then we'll do the last one. So if you're in the live chat, start leaving your wins now and your questions. Start getting them out there, because I will be getting to you all in a few minutes, and I will go ahead and do a few more comments here. Let's see, I left off way back here, I believe. Can Google, okay, so Bandy Morgo asked, I got a question last live, but it was too late and you couldn't reply. I'd like to have your opinion on this. Austin joined as well. Welcome back, Austin, again. Always nice to have you. But Bandy Morgo said, can Google collect data from any end-to-end encrypted app too through the Google Play Store? Okay, good question. So in my newest video that I made, I talked about end-to-end encryption with RCS and how there is now a new open standard for you to have end-to-end encrypted with another person as long as you two have an RCS client that supports this and a phone number. There are no central parties. You don't have to download WhatsApp. You don't have to get people on Signal. It's just, you just message a phone number like you currently do, but if you guys both use RCS with end-to-end encryption, you now have encryption. A lot of people left comments that are going, oh, this is all a scam. It doesn't matter because they can scan your messages anyway, blah, blah, blah. I just think that we need to talk about this very seriously because, like, look, with SMS, I want to make this very clear. With SMS, everything is practically public. It basically has no encryption. Your cell carrier can read everything that you send someone else with SMS. And even if you believe that phone operating systems scan everything on your phone, SMS is no more resilient to that attack than RCS with end-to-end encryption. By every stretch of the imagination, RCS with end-to-end encryption is more secure than SMS. There is no argument anyone could possibly make that RCS with end-to-end encryption does not give people better safety and better security than SMS. There is none, because all it does is increase the security for both users by encrypting everything in transit. So I want to make this very clear that, I know this is not really your question, but I just wanted to make this clear because I saw a ton of questions and concerns about this. And it's like, even if your concern is real and this does scan everything on your phone, you're no worse off by having better encryption in transit, right? This just means cell carriers can't view it, and now you're back to just Apple and Google scanning everything. Now, the actual question. I'm going to say Apple or Google because I see comments and questions from both sides of the aisle here. No, there has never been any kind of direct evidence that they're scanning local data and uploading that data to their servers. Is it possible? Might it happen in the future? Might it be exposed that this has happened for 10 years? Absolutely. Anything is possible. That's why I'm always up here to go, okay, go open source when you can, always layer up your privacy and security, use dedicated tools that would prevent this, etc. Like, okay, I'm not saying this isn't something you should never think about, but there is just simply no evidence for it ever happening. Even on proprietary operating systems, you can still do intense traffic analysis. People literally do this stuff for a living, and we see things come out all the time. We've already seen research studies that show Apple still collects certain bits of identifiable information, even if you opt out of their like advertising privacy thing. Like, people have discovered things like this in the past, and none of it is anywhere near as invasive as Apple is literally scanning everything going on and then sending it off to their servers, or in this case, Google. So no, I think if you use Signal, if you use Session, if you use SimpleX, if you use RCS with end-to-end encryption, there is not, like, again, as far as we've seen, there has never been a single situation or a single incident where they've gone in, scanned it, uploaded it to some server to steal your data. Is it technically possible? Absolutely. They could do this if they wanted to. Is it a huge violation of trust that goes well beyond anything that would just instantly eradicate any trust for the company and make them lose millions? Absolutely as well. These companies do have a limit, I think, to how much they can push in terms of stealing your data. So I'm hypercritical of them. I'm not saying it's not possible. So technically the answer to your question is yes. Can Google collect data from any end-to-end encrypted app? Technically anything is possible. So, but that doesn't mean it's likely, realistic, and that there aren't protections against this kind of stuff. Apps are sandboxed on these operating systems. Even from like the operating systems themselves. That's why sandboxes exist. That's why mobile operating systems are really well designed. So really hard to do, very unlikely, no evidence so far. Technically might be possible, but that's not enough for me to discourage you not to use end-to-end encrypted tools and that they won't give you a huge amount of benefit. So that's what I have to say. If this is still a concern to you and you want to just eliminate all risk of it, then you have to use only open source operating systems. So my personal thoughts on it, if anyone ever has actual evidence of this happening, share it my way and I'll gladly evolve my views on it, but it has not happened. And there are researchers that literally look for this stuff on a daily basis. And they can do it very well through traffic inspection. It's very easy to tell if this stuff is done through traffic inspection. So hopefully that helped. Hopefully not too polarizing, but I want to make sure you guys are focused on like the very big wins that can really make a big difference rather than like really focusing on hypotheticals, which may or may not be true. Water bottle design. I had a question on sharing location data. Me and my girlfriend don't need to track each other's locations all the time, but for times when we travel long distance, what service would you recommend? I haven't seen anything good. All I'll say is that sticking with first-party solutions tends to be better. So rather than using like Life 360, blah, 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 that has no business model outside of selling your data and has already been caught doing it and even selling children's data, try to stick with first-party solutions when possible, so using Apple's Find My Thing. I think Google might have one as well. Use those because at least they have less incentive to do anything super nefarious with your data because they have actual business models. Personally, what I like to do is I can just send a notification like on Signal, like, or even an iMessage or WhatsApp, I think might even do this, where you can just send your current location to someone as like a pin. It's not like real time. It requires the other person to send it, of course, but that is a middle ground solution. I haven't seen any other like great options, so if anyone knows anything, definitely leave it in the live chat and I'll try to like refer back to that. Let's see. You can easily bypass the upgrade restrictions. The Rufus ISO installer even has an included option for it. Yeah, I'm gonna go ahead and play with that. I actually, this is referring back to Windows 10 not allowing you to upgrade to Windows 11. Somebody in the community post I made on YouTube mentioned that, and I want to test that for myself. And if that's true, I will make a very quick tutorial so that other people can see how it's done, assuming no one else has already done it. I don't want to copy it if someone else has already done it, but yeah. Yeah, exactly. Exactly. Yeah, we don't really have one planned. So we've been kind of doing these weekly live streams. They're a lot more consistent, and so nothing's been currently planned at the moment, but maybe later. IRC's ancient magic. Yes. Dang, stream looks pretty cool. Yeah, I'm glad you think so. Create fictional personas. Another question, I saw someone in the chat saying that you shouldn't use the main F-Droid client, so I'd like to know why. Some people just have some security concerns over it. I've dove into these, and I personally don't think that they're massive security concerns. There are some things they can improve on, but that doesn't mean it's like insecure, if that makes sense. So I'd just be very careful. Like, I've seen some really terrible security practices, and even then I struggled to like assign the label as insecure. It's a very binary way to look at security when realistically security is a massive spectrum. So it's easier to say, hey, this thing has this security issue. Keep that security issue in mind and act accordingly. That's a much more honest way to have the conversation, whereas I've seen a lot of just misinformation around F-Droid of like people saying if you use this, you're gonna get hacked and blah, blah, blah. And it's like, well, we have thousands, if not dozens of thousands of users. They've used it for a long time without any major incidents. So, you know, like, so yeah, just try to proceed carefully with that kind of stuff. It's not to say the concerns aren't valid. I just think that the way they're being communicated is a bit too binary than the way I like to look at it. Already mentioned this earlier. Hi, Henry just joined. Hello, Jay. Hello, Rishi. Would you mind posting some of the RSS sources you follow? I use RSS too. I mean, my RSS sources are like my personal life. Like I follow Slashdot and I follow like privacy blogs like Signal's blog, Firefox's blog, etc., Brave's blog. But outside that, I mostly use it for my personal life. So I'll follow like my personal YouTube channels I like to follow and things like that. So I don't think it's that useful for me to share those. If you guys, like, it's just not relevant, I think. But if you really wanted to, I could share what some of those are, I suppose. It shouldn't matter too much. I'd have to get to know more why you're trying to do this to really understand, but it shouldn't make a huge difference just looking at it. Technically, you might have a little bit better security by not including like your SIM card on your phone. That has historically been an attack vector for very, very targeted attacks. So technically, if you move that to a hotspot, you might be a bit safer, but I don't think that's a consideration that most people need to make. We got a win from Salty Soggy, and then I'm gonna go ahead and answer Salty Soggy, all right? Then I'm gonna do the final win on our forum, and then I'm gonna go ahead and stick with you guys until the end of the stream. All right, so I'll be back in a sec. Let me go ahead and deal with Salty Soggies, and then I'll take a break back to the forum, finish things out, and I'll be back for you guys. So Salty Soggy says, new win, switched all of my most used services to email aliases and changed passwords using Proton Pass, and still deleted unused and old accounts, switched from Apple Notes to Obsidian. Oh, and they're still going. Downloaded Ente Photos today, and slowly switching from Authy to Ente Auth, switching more and more of my friends and family to Firefox forks and FOSS services. And some future goals is to use RSS feed more, switch to web apps, struggling with this one, and have Linux, Pop! OS downloaded on an old desktop and have been testing that out. Wish me luck. Honestly, already huge wins. It sounds like your first win is honestly just Go Incognito 2.4, or is like cleaning up your digital identity online. And that is like getting your password manager, moving everything into your password manager, updating your passwords, switching things to email aliases, going into accounts, deleting them you don't need anymore. And I bet it feels so good to have your entire digital life in one centralized place where you can actually make those changes and make improvements. And just huge congrats. Again, I've said this so many times, but it's like, I'm for real, guys. Like, Go Incognito 2.4, I have received so much feedback that it's the hardest, most grueling, most obnoxious lesson, and it can take people months to do because it is that hard to actually like go through and consolidate all your accounts in one place and clean them up. So congrats, huge win, and all this other stuff sounds like you're making all the right switches. So congrats, and I'm excited to see future goals, or future wins, I should say. And definitely, if you can, leave them on the forum too. It's a cleaner place to leave this kind of stuff. My throat's been really dry. Okay, and now we're gonna do the last win here from Lightning Toaster. They convinced their mom to use DuckDuckGo instead of Google as her search engine. Super exciting. I know there's some like DuckDuckGo hate, but I think anyone would agree that DuckDuckGo is better than Google for privacy. So there we go, big win. And I hope she likes it. Definitely report back if she actually sticks with it and enjoys using it. let's see here. So he helped her, I don't know if this is a he, she, they don't put, but they quickly helped them use Safari with DuckDuckGo as a search engine so that she could search about mustard sauce without having to wait. I told her about search and that she was actually using DuckDuckGo, not Google, and she was pleasantly surprised. But then in a vaguely worded way, she asked me if it has any compatibility issue. When I told her it does exactly the same thing as Google, nothing will break, she agreed to me wanting to remove the Google search altogether. Kind of shocking was that she said she never knew there was something else to use for searching stuff. Later on, I told her what the benefits are, like how everyone sees the same result when the prompt is the same, but not sure how much of that landed. While I was at it, I removed both Google Chrome and the Google search app, leaving her with Safari and DuckDuckGo browser. Honestly, congrats, that's awesome. Like, seriously, like those are all big switches. Like if everyone updated their search engine in the world to just get away from Google, that's like, it seems small, but that would have huge implications for like the entire direction of tech. So big win, and it's really exciting to see. And then let's see, got Ente Auth after getting positive info on it through the Techlore content. Awesome, glad to have left Aegis behind, not because it's bad, but I think Ente Auth is a bit more resilient, all things considered. No need for manual backups, which I sometimes forget. Yeah, exactly my thoughts. I mean, again, I really like Aegis, great project, great team behind it, but I think the fact that Ente Auth is cross-platform and allows end-to-end encrypted syncing, just natively built in, just makes it a bit more accessible and makes this, like you said, more resilient. And I think that's a great way to put it. So I'm really glad that you tried it out and you liked it. But again, Aegis is still there if someone just needs an offline Android-only option as well. They also said after some trial and error, they got used to controls for a little while. They're now able to use OpenSnitch on Linux through Zorin OS as a prompt-based firewall for their applications, denying all connections of a new app unless they clicked allow on the prompt. Super cool. If this sounds complicated, essentially anytime they download software and the software like wants to connect to the internet, it'll ask them first, oh, can this connect to this domain? And they have to allow it. So really good way to get a lot of control in your operating system. So huge win. And then they also said they're learning to use more FOSS software for digital media, which is more of an indirect privacy win because it allows me to reside in Linux more and usually there's less telemetry. These are the programs they're slowly transitioning to, which includes Material Maker, Ardour, Blender, and Armor Paint. So I haven't actually used any of these except Blender, but they look really interesting and I'm glad they're working for you so far and I hope that they're able to continue working well for you. So congrats, honestly, huge wins, not just for you, but also family members, and I really can't complain about that. Week 47 is already live. So by the time you're watching this, you can already go in the description below or just go to discuss.techlore.tech. Check the pinned posts. There is no one here yet, so you can be the first person to leave your win on the next thread. With that said, I will now be with all of you in the live chat. I'm gonna take a little break. Give me like 10 seconds. Okay. Of course, I wanted to give another shout out to Anon. I wanted to give another shout out to Johnny O. And of course, we have Sunrosec and Smoke and Reload. And I think we got Ricardo, there we go. Yeah, YouTube does take fees. And someone down below said, let's see here. I think, yeah, without my Google account, I could never get a membership with you. Yes. So again, super appreciate the membership. We can use all the help and support, and we still get a majority of all of that, even though YouTube does take a cut. I think we get a majority. But if you ever really want to support us, but you don't want to do it through Google, we made something from the ground up for that. So if you go to our forum and you click subscribe, you can become a Techlorian, or you can just send a tip. So you don't have to have it be a subscription. But this is directly through us and Stripe. So we wanted to offer something that doesn't go through like any like middle people. It's literally just a payment processor and ourselves. And that's why we did that. So that if you guys want to be a part of something through us, you can, and you still get access to a private Signal group through that. And that's all through our forum. We are on Patreon and other platforms too, if you don't want to go through that. And we also have tons of free ways to support us too. And if you don't want to support us, then I hope you still get like value from our content and just share it around with people. And that's already plenty of support too. 1 sec. I don't know if you can probably hear that. But I think an ambulance just went by. We have this, what's this? Gifted 5 tech, how do you do that? 5 Techlore memberships. I've never seen this before. Can someone explain it to me? If so one person can do 5 memberships, or like, how does that work? Either way, I feel like that's big and I really appreciate it. So thank you. Can someone explain to me what it is so I know like the weight of what they did? But either way, this is awesome and a lot of support today. So yeah, you guys are freaking awesome. Thank you. Let's see here. LG was fun rooting and installing Lineage. I settled with iPhone because I need it to function. Okay. Samsung essentially increases your attack surface while offering an arguably worse experience. That's one way to put it, very critical way to put it, and I don't necessarily disagree. But yeah, I guess my only pushback is some people genuinely like some of the Samsung software and the experience, but as I mentioned very clearly beforehand, that is not me. This person does not like Bitward and UI, and they actually like the old one. I need to try it out. Let's see what this is about. I wonder if I can pull it up here just to kind of show you guys. Let me see if they have mock-ups and stuff on their website. Yeah, it's not like they don't show like great screen mock-ups on their site as far as I can tell. Like, yeah, they have some, but yeah, it's not as clear as I'd like, so we'll just check it out on your ends if you're curious. Are banking apps going to work on something like Graphene? It depends. I think they have a compatibility chart, so you can check it out. But I have seen people say that their banking app doesn't work. So there's only one way to find out. They have a compatibility list, and you can check it out before, so you can know if it works before you install it. Little Snitch is different to no script. Yeah. Would you be open to sharing that iOS shortcut for auto-reconnecting? I have that issue with Tailwind plus Mullvad. I assume you meant Tailscale, which is what I assume you're using too. Or maybe you meant. I can't like share the link. It's like super easy. I'll just like lay out what I did here. So get ready. If this is you, user, your name is user, you just go to automation in the Shortcuts app. And I just have it so when phone joins, when phone leaves Wi-Fi network, so that's like the automation, the do is just disconnect from VPN and then wait 3 seconds. I had to set a timer to wait artificially so that it has time to disconnect and then connect. You might be able to get away with 2 seconds, but 3 is kind of what worked for me. So that's literally the automation. So when you leave the Wi-Fi network, disconnect, wait 3 seconds, connect. Hopefully that helps you do that. I went ahead and kind of showcased different ways you can do it as well if you still want to support what we do. But if you're only on YouTube and that's something you're committed to, then we'll have you here as well. We're trying to be as many places as we can for you guys. Correct, both are good. Okay, which RSS feeds? Okay, you know what? Yeah, it's RSS. I will go ahead and pull up my RSS feeds here. I'll do it on my computer. So I'm just gonna go through bottom to top, the things that I am comfortable sharing in my RSS feed. So first, I follow vegnews.com. It's a great resource for me and the things that I'm passionate about. So that is something I very much enjoy. I follow Slashdot. Slashdot, if you guys, I think it's a great all-in-one place to get tech news. If you use Slashdot, you're going to get like privacy news, security news, just general tech news, just general nerdy stuff too. Like you'll get chess updates, space updates, some science updates, but also you will get like some actual updates that are away from tech if it's big enough news. Like Slashdot is just a very interesting feed and I really love it because it's like kind of exactly what I want is like 80% tech news, 10% just nerdy news, and then 10% like actual real world news that's big enough to make all other news sources. But it's great and they just give you like little snippets and then they link to like the full articles so you can read more if you really want to. Really like Slashdot. I like 404 Media, which I believe you put here as well. Krebs on Security, Techlore, I'm glad we're on your RSS. Big Brother Watch, 404 Media. Bleeping Computer, and Mullvad. Yes, I'm also on 404 Media. And then in terms of YouTube, I follow Humphrey Yang for financial stuff. I like his channel. I follow Judge Judy, notoriously. I've mentioned this many times. In fact, before this live stream, I was having lunch watching today's Judge Judy. I am in JJ Lunch Crew. I did put Kurzgesagt, though. I don't know, like lately Kurzgesagt has been like, I'm just less into it. I do have MKBHD. It's literally the only tech content creator on my RSS feed. And I'd say I watch maybe just like 1 in every 4 videos, like just things that I'm personally interested in. I have the School of Life, I have Veritasium, and that is it for YouTube. I don't watch much YouTube, actually. As for like privacy-based RSS feeds, Brave, they have a blog. They don't post much to it, and when they do, half of it's marketing, so take that as you will. iVPN barely ever posts to it, but I do follow it. I do follow Mullvad's. Theirs is pretty solid. I do follow Signals. Theirs is solid. You can follow everything on the Techlore forum with RSS, and I do that. So actually, I'm going to go back and showcase this because this is actually really cool. You can go to literally any category with any tag. So what a lot of people do is you can go to privacy and security. Sorry. Is it privacy and security? Yes, you go to privacy and security, you go to news, and you can set this to like the good news filter. And then what you do is you just copy this link, and I believe you add a /RSS or .RSS at the end and import that into your RSS client. You don't need an account, and you can follow all the good news for privacy and security from our forum. You can also just not do a filter and you get all the news, so if you want both good and bad news. And you can also follow discussions, you can follow videos, you can follow anything on our forum with RSS without even needing an account. So yeah, we're very pro RSS on our forum, and I hope that it helps, and we get a lot of good feedback from people using it like that, including myself. I also follow Proton's blog in my RSS feed, but like, I'm gonna be real with you guys, it's like 90% like kind of just marketing stuff. Like it's like, here, I'm not gonna make this up. So I'm gonna go through here. Their most recent blog post was how to change Google autofill settings on Chrome. Do you know what that is? It's just a way to promote Proton Pass. Let's see, the next one. How to create a business email address. I wonder what they're gonna promote in that one. Next one. Bitcoin versus CBDCs. The difference is control. I wonder what they're gonna promote in that one. Like, I wish that they had like more organic, like they have such a good, talented team, and it'd be cool if they had like good, organic, like genuinely insightful discussions rather than having all of their blogs mostly just be marketing stuff. So yeah, I've been like on the fence about unsubscribing from that one for a long time. And those are kind of the main feeds I subscribe to. And the cool thing is I can just spend like 10 minutes kind of checking in on my RSS feed each day. Most of it I don't need to read and I just mark as read. And then I have 2 or 3 things that I need to read in a specific day, and then I'm done. There is literally a completion date. Whereas when you use Twitter, when you use Facebook, when you use any of these platforms, there is no completion. There is always more content to feed you. And that's a problem, I think. So yeah. Before this, someone, let's see, let's go. I got gifted. He paid for 5 people's memberships for a month. Yes, okay. So I guess some of you got that. So I guess some of you could have claimed it. So thank you, Anon, for like getting 5 other people involved. So I guess we got Carter and Demonica, and that's actually a cool feature. Don't tell YouTube I said that, because if they think that I'm like really happy with YouTube, then they might not like take our criticisms and advice seriously to make it better. But thank you, Anon, and I'm really glad that you guys, yeah, I'm really glad that you guys like can be part of it too. Let's see here. Yes, you did say Tailscale. Moved to Ente from iCloud Photos because of the UK government. Good stuff, and I hope that the switch was easy for you. And probably a good move in light of what's happening in the UK right now with them banning end-to-end encryption. So I'm glad that you proactively took care of that before you were forced to disable it. Is there a good RCS client that isn't Google Messages? No, not that I know of. It's kind of a problem. Like, we need to see more RCS clients, especially ones that are committed to supporting end-to-end encryption once it comes out. Have you seen the SS7 video Veritasium did a while back? Yes, that was a great one. Veritasium is a good channel. And it's in my RSS feed, as I just mentioned. Regarding RCS, hold on there, Henry. Regarding open standard, Google made this, and if the source code is not available, it's end-to-end encrypted. Sure. No. Watch my newest video. Right now, I really want to make this clear. Currently, end-to-end encryption for RCS is only reserved for Google's proprietary version of it within Google Messages. That is not an open standard. As of like 1 or 2 weeks ago, they actually implemented end-to-end encryption into the RCS protocol. So it is an open standard. And that was not done just by Google. That was done by Google. It was done by Apple. It was done by tons of other tech companies, as well as cell carriers, and everyone involved with the RCS standard. So tons of people are involved, and it was an open standard. The only issue is we have not seen, and we probably won't see for a good while, anyone actually implements the open standard RCS with end-to-end encryption. So we're still waiting on that, and we're going to see what it looks like, but I want to make it very clear that Google's current RCS end-to-end encryption is not the same thing as what's going to be the open standard RCS with end-to-end encryption. And it's kind of sad that there's like already so much confusion over this, because if this was just a clean rollout from the get-go, like if RCS just came out with end-to-end encryption, we wouldn't be in this weird situation we are right now. So overall, really good stuff. Got on a custom ROM, nice job. This may be a loaded question. I want to play Steam games. What do you recommend for PC setup, security and privacy? Steam games have to be downloaded onto PC. Thank you for everything you do. Yeah, I guess I'd be curious, like what are your specific concerns? Because I don't think the advice changes too much if you're using the computer for a browser or for gaming or whatever. But I'll actually tell you what I do, because I've actually kind of done this. So next to me, I've mentioned this frickin' desktop so many times now. It's this like ancient, it's not even that old, but it is pretty old now. It's this old Alienware desktop that I got used on Craigslist. It's really ugly. I think Alienware stuff is just generally really ugly. It's very tacky, very it's like very cheesy gamer vibes. I like more like polished, clean, minimal looks, and then Alienware is all like curvy and like LED, RGB, and I just not a fan. Doesn't matter. My point is, I got this separate device literally just to run Windows, just for gaming, which is hilarious because I can't remember the last time I booted it up. It's probably been like 4 or 5 months. So, but my point is, I was just gonna go through what I did. Went on Craigslist, got a used machine, installed Windows on it, pretty much stripped everything I could from Windows, all the telemetry I could, just basic stuff. It doesn't really matter because I'm just doing it to play games. I'm not even logging into any of my accounts. I barely even touched the browser. I think I used the browser to install Steam and whatever other gaming things are out there. I think there's like, was it EA or, I don't know, I'm not a gamer, but there's other gaming stores like Steam that are out there that you can use. That's all that's on the computer. So get the computer, install Steam. You can set up Steam with a brand new account if you want it to be tied to a different identity, and then just play away. That's really what I'd recommend. And if you have to do that on your current system, consider dual booting. You can have Windows on a dual boot and then have Linux for your more sensitive personal stuff. It's just a bit messy. You know, it's really hard to recommend dual booting to everyone because it's a very DIY. I've had things go wrong with my dual boot systems. It's a bit cleaner if you have 2 hard drives, so I do recommend having 2 hard drives if able. But those are kind of my go-to pieces of advice. There's nothing inherently different about gaming versus other things, except, you know, the whole like anti-cheat stuff, which I know can be pretty invasive. But again, I think if you have a dedicated device or a dedicated operating system, it kind of gets around a lot of that. Let's see. I've been using Brave for a few years because of you. Cool, I'm glad Brave is working. Brave is also still on my systems as well for the last few years. Mullvad has become my default browser, but as I've mentioned, Brave is kind of what I use for my accounts and things that I want to stay logged into as kind of just like a very usable browser to stay logged into things. So Mickey, oh, here we go. So Mickey was gifted a membership. Demonica was gifted a membership. Jamie was gifted a membership, Sparkling, Sylvian, and Carter. So congrats, you guys. I'm glad that you guys all like contributed to each other. That's awesome. Thank you for your answers, of course. I guess you gift them. I guess I didn't. So they already got to 5 people. So yeah, I'm glad that all worked out. DeLorean, the Techlorian. That's funny. Yeah, you know what's funny? I've actually never seen Back to the Future, and I know it's such a classic movie. So I really should watch that. But yes, you have the DeLorean. Should have named it the Techlorian. That's funny. Oh. Okay, we got a win here. Oh, so they got the automation set up for your VPN. I hope it works. Let me know if it works next week. You can leave it on the forum or on the live chat, and hopefully you can still leave it. Fuzzy Mint says, this is my first time actually chatting here. I do actually have a win. Just a few days ago, I swapped over to Fedora for my daily OS. I dual boot from either Fedora or Windows 10 now. So congrats. I really love Fedora. It's my favorite distro, and very clean, very polished, and I love GNOME, so it all kind of comes together nicely. So I'm really glad it's working for you. And congrats. That's a big switch, and it sounds like you're even doing a dual boot as well. So congrats. Henry from Ken. Yes. Hello, Ken. Kenry. One of my friends calls me Kenry, actually. So it's really funny that you brought that up. Adding /.now. Cheers. Yes. I've developed my opinion on this to just use whatever you want. That's kind of where I'm at. They both address kind of the biggest issues in the room. So one has less device availability than the other one. And that's kind of how I've been putting it. Like if you read our resources, techlore.tech/resources, you'll see that there's like, it's almost like sorted by different device availability, and it kind of talks through like the priorities of each project. So for example, I have a Fairphone, which is only supported by Calyx OS, and I think Calyx OS is a great choice if you have a Fairphone. So if you have a Pixel, then you just have to pick between the two and see which one you prefer. But I think most people will go for the former if you go for a Pixel. I think Proton is getting too corporate, and I don't like their marketing. Yeah, yeah, it's a tough thing. And again, I really like Proton. We use Proton. I'm in the Proton ecosystem. I use Proton Pass. All of my reviews are overall, like, it's tough because I am critical of services. I like to share criticism. I get criticism. I like to give it, and I hope that my criticism comes across as constructive. It might not always, and obviously I can't control how other people interpret the criticism, but I genuinely try to give criticism to help services like understand like hiccups that a typical user could be. And a lot of my criticism isn't from me. It's actually from comments and all of you, because I have like previously would recommend certain tools, and then I get 10 emails about the same freaking thing, and everyone says, hey, this tool you recommended did this to my system, which wasn't supposed to do. Or, hey, this tool that you recommended, I can't figure it out for my life, and I tried this instead, and this was much better. So when you guys tell me this stuff, it actually is a big signal for what actually is something I should be looking at when I'm reviewing something. Because what a lot of you might know is it's really hard to make progress on the privacy and security journey and then be able to step back and put yourself in the shoes of someone who's just joining the journey for the first time. And it's really hard to do that, and that's why your feedback is really important, because I can read from you guys who might be in a different part of the journey that, oh, I didn't realize that I said this term that might not even make sense to someone new to this. So it's a really hard thing to stay on top of. Anyway, a bit off topic, my point with the Proton thing is that yes, I do think it's pretty corporate, and I do reviews where I'm pretty critical of this, and I don't say this from the angle of I just hate Proton as a whole. I think there's a lot of great things they do. I use it myself. My reviews are honest about them, and I feel like I'm very critical of them, but I still praise them where they deserve praise. But I fully agree. I think that they are trying to beat big tech. They're trying to be different from big tech. That should be their approach. Obviously, it's their company, and it's Andy's company, so they can run it however they want. But I personally really prefer the way Tuda does their marketing, which is like, no, we're not big tech. Like, we're just a cute little team, and like, we're just trying to battle big tech, and we're doing it from like a grassroots perspective. Whereas Proton is trying to beat big tech by being a different big tech. And it's just an interesting approach. It isn't how I would like to approach it personally, but it does give a very corporate feeling, which is very familiar, and a feeling that you get a lot with companies like Google and Apple. And I feel like that's not what you want from the company that's trying to kick them to the curb. So those are my opinions. It's not my company. It doesn't mean Proton is any less technically great. It doesn't mean I'm necessarily switching away from it right now because of that reason. But it's something I've thought about as well, and I do agree with you. It is pretty corporate. NetNewsWire is really nice. It's an open source RSS client that this person is using, and it's on iOS and macOS. There's also Reader, R-E-E-D-E-R, very nice as well. I would say the UI is much nicer than NetNewsWire personally, but those are a couple options to throw your way if you're in the Apple ecosystem. I'm using iPhone X and I might upgrade. I'm thinking about buying Pixel 9 or 8 and running Graphene, but I have 3 Apple devices. Should I leave the garden? No one can answer that except yourself. You know, like if you're all in with Apple Notes with your family, Apple Photos with your family, you use the Find My network with your family, you're using iMessage with all of your contacts, maybe leaving the garden is like a huge thing for you and you have a full-time job and you won't be able to do it for a while. And so maybe the answer is no. Maybe we need to find ways to make the current ecosystem you're in better. I can't answer that for you just based on this live stream and the comment that you left. But all I can tell you is that you need to ask yourself what it looks like to move to something else. What does it look like to escape the garden? Make a list of things you need, things that you can't get or things that you can get, and make a decision based on that. I can like set up a 1-hour phone call with you and we can like discuss it together, but outside of a situation like that, I can't really help you with just that amount of context. I do think the forum could be a big help as well. If you joined and kind of asked the same question, but you left a lot more context, a lot of people in our community can like actually help you out a little bit more with something like that. We have BB Edit for someone's favorite text editor. Let's see. Yeah, leave it to Google to make confusing product rollouts. Yeah, that's Google notoriously. Regarding the RCS open standard, please elaborate on what an open standard means. Is the entire functionality of this open standard 100% viewable and knowable and vettable? Yes. So what it means is that like you can build your own, like any of you listening can build your own client that theoretically can support RCS end-to-end encryption, and you can handle the encryption yourself that is compatible with the spec. So yes, this is something that theoretically we could see like an F-Droid client for, just like SMS. Like you can have an SMS client on Android. Now, this will probably be overall handled by your operating system. Like the operating system and your chip or your SIM card are what's going to handle receiving the messages, and then you're going to have a client that like interprets that and gives it to you through your notifications, and you can send them text, you can send them images. But yes, this is overall going to be like an open standard that anyone can use, and you can use any different clients that you want with it. That's the idea. So we're going to see what actually happens, but I really hope that this is embraced because it could be a really good future for just base level security when messaging people. Not necessarily. I think anyone can find a vulnerability, but I do overall trust Google to at least have like a very, very good filtering process from the get-go. And if anyone finds anything beyond that, then they find it. I don't know if they're more likely or not. That's a tough question to answer. Thank you for answering questions. Of course. Thank you for being a member. I want to dual boot Windows and Linux on the same drive after purchasing a laptop with an NVIDIA card. Is it acceptable to encrypt my Linux drive and to safely update Windows when necessary? Ooh, I don't know. It's been a while since I've done a dual boot configuration on a single drive, so I am not the right person to ask for that, actually. There might be some new stuff that I have no idea about, because like last time I dual booted on the same drive, it was with like Windows 8, and things were just very different with Grub, things were different with Windows, and even then, Windows would sometimes like wipe my bootloader and just do some really wacky stuff. So I don't know. I would say this is a better question to ask someone. If someone in the live chat knows and they already do this, please elaborate. But I don't want to promise because I don't want to mislead you and have you like set up this whole thing and then lose your data. So don't trust me on this one. I would try to get like a firm answer from someone in a community who's done it. And I'm really glad you like the content. Do you think that 2FA with SMS shouldn't exist? I don't think it shouldn't I don't think it should just like not exist. I just think it shouldn't exist as prolifically as it does. I think SMS with 2FA should always just be like a major backup option because ultimately I do fall into the camp. This is somewhat debated. I fall in the camp that SMS with 2FA is generally better than no 2FA. And For better or for worse, everyone kind of has to have a phone number nowadays. A lot of services you use require a phone number, and so you don't need to onboard people to use a TOTP app. You don't need to get them to buy a security key. You don't need them to install a different application. Everyone has a phone number. It's a very common language, and you just say, hey, just give us your phone number and we'll give you 2FA. So I think that 2FA SMS has a place, and I think it should always have a place to give people slightly better security than no 2FA. What I have a problem with is so many services just default to only using SMS 2FA without even having alternative options, let alone making those the default when they're more secure and in some ways could be cheaper, right? Because theoretically you have to buy a phone number and pay for a monthly plan or credits or whatever you're using. And that has an expense tied to it that most people already cough up, but theoretically someone might not have a phone number. And for them, having a TOTP app is actually fantastic because it's free and they don't have to buy a cell phone just for that. So I don't think it shouldn't exist. I just don't think it should exist in the way it does, which is like the default 2FA that most services use. I think it should be like the backup emergency with tons of warnings. Hey, this is not as secure as our other options. Use our other options. These are recommended. So that's what I would say. It also doesn't make sense because it's expensive. These like companies that have SMS 2FA, they're paying for literally every text they send you. So beyond me why they want to like pay for that. Don't know. Where is your favorite movie? I think you meant what's your favorite movie? I'm not good with favorites still to this day. Like I can give you like a general list of movies I enjoy. But yeah, let me see. Even then, like it's hard off the top of my head. I have a movie list on Crypty that I'm pulling up now. See if I can give you at least some movies I've watched in the recent few years that I've been tracking them. Let's see, inbox, movie list. Let me share with you some movies that I really enjoyed. Okay, in terms of like animated movies, I really liked, I never watched this growing up, so these are just like animated kind of kids movies, but I really liked Iron Giant. And I also love The Prince of Egypt, great movie. Let's see. Pan's Labyrinth is a recent one I watched for like multiple times. I've seen that even when I was young. It was a great movie. Let's see. I watched Perfect Days. That was pretty fun. So these are just recent movies I've watched to kind of give you an idea of things I like, maybe. Yeah, those are kind of like the top movies. I enjoy movies, but I'm not like a huge movie nerd. So just random things. But yeah, do you guys have a favorite movie? Definitely like, okay, leave me your favorite movies and I can give you thoughts on movies that you share, whether or not I agree with them. I think that's easier than me trying to figure out a favorite. Oh, and I love the Lord of the Rings trilogy, and pretty much a lot of that whole world. I think the Hobbit trilogy was not very good because I am rational about it. But yeah, and I don't think that's a hot take. So yeah, I just rewatched the Lord of the Rings trilogy, like the full extended everything, and it was fantastic. And it's crazy how well it aged in my eyes. Like they just did a great job with that. And I actually am rereading the books right now. So it's really exciting. Let's see. Took me 4 weeks, but I finally migrated 2FA from Authy to 2FAS. We'll switch to Ente Auth eventually, but the browser extension makes me feel like a hacker. Awesome. Yes, I am all for people moving away from Authy to better, more open ecosystems. So congrats. Yeah, Marina puts EOS on Fairphones and resells them. Yes, I prefer Calyx OS because I believe you still get verified boot on a Fairphone. I don't know if EOS does that. So could be wrong. I could be, that might have updated or changed, or I might be misremembering, but I'm fairly certain that Calyx allows you to still relock your Fairphone bootloader, potentially. And I don't think EOS does that. But again, I could be wrong there, so please fact check. What's your opinion on the Revanced project as a whole? YouTube or Revanced, I don't know how to say it, but Google Photos, is it good mainly for using in a work profile? I haven't used it myself. I've heard people use it and they enjoy it. I do think there is still some reliance on Google when you do this kind of stuff. But if you like it and you're aware of any limitations it provides, I don't have anything inherently against it. But again, it's not something I've personally used or have that much experience with. I also got a YubiKey for account security just yesterday. Had a bit of trouble setting it up, but I managed to get it running. Congrats! Yes, I have a YubiKey plugged into the system right now, and it's always on my keychain, and I have backups, and it's great. So I'm a huge fan of them, and honestly, for me, they're just more convenient even than TOTP. Like, it's so much more convenient for me to just tap my YubiKey. It's already plugged into my laptop, rather than having to like get out my 2FA codes either on my phone or in like a different program. So really enjoy it. How is Brave private and secure even though it's made in Chromium engine? Yeah, I've seen this before. Okay, so I'm gonna rephrase the question. Is Brave private and secure despite being based on Chromium? I want to make a few things clear because there's a bit of misinformation around this. So Chromium is actually an open source web engine. It is predominantly developed by Google, despite it being open source. So I'd say it's open source practically, like it is open source. It's legitimately open source. You can view all the code, but like realistically, it is still kind of run by a company, and they kind of make whatever decisions they want in Chromium, and then from there, Brave goes ahead and takes the code. Now, Chromium itself, like Brave's version of Chromium, it doesn't include the same kind of like privacy concerns that you're going to find in Google Chrome. Google Chrome adds all of that extra Google crap that people don't like on top of Chromium. So you're not necessarily going to find that issue with Chromium itself. It's in Google Chrome. So just because something is based on Chromium doesn't mean that it's this like privacy invasive tech that's sending all your data to Google. So that's the first thing to clear up that I do see a lot of online. It's important to really get that out there. With that said, all of these all these Chromium-based browsers do, because like I said, it is mostly just developed by Google, are kind of victim to whatever Google wants to do with their web engine. So if Google wants to go ahead and cut support for things like ad blockers by using Manifest v3, Brave is now going to have to put a lot more resources into still maintaining v2 Manifest engine. And that is a problem, and I think it makes these things slightly less resilient. Does it make them less private or secure? I don't think so, but it does make them less resilient, and it makes them a little bit more dependent on what Google decides to do with Chromium. But Brave is still a perfectly private, perfectly secure browser for a lot of threat models, and even other things like Vivaldi and lots of other open source browsers like ungoogled Chromium that are based on Chromium can still achieve a decent amount of privacy and security despite being based on Chromium. So something to think about. And I think that, you know, it's extremely valid to be wary of Chromium because people don't want one web engine ruling the entire web. So a lot of people just ethically want to use other engines like what you see in Firefox with Gecko, or some people prefer WebKit, which is what's found in Safari, and a couple Linux browsers as well. So those are kind of the things to think about, but no, strictly from just privacy and security, I don't think that just using a Chromium-based browser is going to make or break anything. It's more about the implementation and what browser you're using that uses that, that web engine. So I hope that helps, and I hope that clears up some things that I've seen online. It should be, Neil. You can actually read the documentation. I don't know if like the code itself is, but definitely check it out. I don't know off the top of my head, and I haven't seen like if the code itself is public. But they do go through like the implementation and how the encryption is done and how clients should handle the encryption, etc. So the standard itself is open. I don't know if the code itself that's used is open, but I believe it should be. But I will definitely have to go fact check that after the fact. So I'll go ahead and look into it. And if anyone already knows, definitely let us know. Let's see here. Honora. I haven't heard of Honora. I'm the same with favorites. Life is hard. Yeah, it's hard to pick between like a lot of good stuff. Your favorite movie is Back to the Future featuring the Techlore. Oh yeah, okay, you're right, you're right. Guys, my favorite movie is Back to the Future featuring the Techlorian. Shameless promo. But yeah, I haven't seen it. It's funny because I've just seen references to it. I've seen so many references to Back to the Future that I feel like I already know how the whole movie goes and like the main moments from the movie because it's referenced in so many places. But yeah, I have not seen Shutter Island. Book recommendations. I've seen Glenn Greenwald's No Place to Hide. Yeah, I liked Kevin Mitnick's book. I liked Snowden's books. He did a couple of them. There's like, man, I'm blanking on them right now in my head. Yeah, I'm brain farting right now on book recommendations. We used to actually have like an Amazon page for Techlore where you can like see like books that are recommended. But those are kind of the two right now. I know Cory Doctorow has really good stuff, but I'm blanking on like all his books right now. There's Days Goliath, which is really solid. Yeah, man, I'm just blanking. I'm having a big brain fart. So if anyone's read a good book, like leave it, help me out here. But yes. Why was my question deleted? I don't know. You've seen me this whole time, so I don't think I deleted it. Oh, yeah. Okay. So someone asked, have you watched the Severance season finale yet? Yes, I did. And I just want to say, I think this was 2 weeks ago, 3 weeks ago for one of the streams. I came forward and I said, I think Severance is really starting to go downhill. And the writing is really not great. And I completely stand by that, what I said, and I think that the finale proved it. It is very clear to me that they are doing everything possible to just not answer things on purpose and just kind of keep introducing new questions and have characters do things that don't align with anything that they've been like working towards. It's the same crap with Game of Thrones. Like, the reason why people hated the Game of Thrones ending wasn't because the ending itself sucked. It's because it didn't make sense. It's because characters that spent seasons doing one thing out of nowhere just changed their entire purpose and acted completely against their motives and their emotions and everything just for the sake of writing and to like just this like shock effect for the audience and to just like throw people off guard. And I think that's what Severance is doing right now. They're doing things that literally make no sense if you just think about it for more than like 10 seconds. And like the music is fantastic, the cinematography is fantastic. I think the characters and like the acting is still really good. There's still a lot of things to appreciate about it, but I can't defend it. Like, it's really bad actually. And it's sad because the whole finale, I'm like, oh my God, this is like actually good. Like, they finally are like kind of pulling together the season and making up for the lack of good writing this whole time. And they just screw it up the last 5 minutes. Like, I can't spoil anything because some of you might have not seen it, but those are my thoughts on Severance. I hope I didn't spoil anything too serious, but I thought the ending was really crazy in like the worst ways possible. And literally like, yeah, I don't know. I'm just really upset about it because I really thought season 1 was good. Season 1, like every second counted. And characters were developed really nicely. Things were very reliable. Things made sense. Characters acted in a way that made sense with their characters, and things weren't just done for random reasons to just like, be like, oh wow, that's crazy, that just happened moments. Whereas season 2 definitely does way too much of that, and there's still like a million things that are just totally unanswered that I think should have definitely been answered in season 2. And frankly, I don't think they're ever going to be answered. I just think that they're at the point now where they're just like, it doesn't matter, people aren't going to ask questions, and we can kind of get away with just doing whatever. So I'm sorry if you liked the finale. If you liked the finale, I wish there was a way for me to talk to you and we can like chat it out and see like why you think it's good, and I can give you my reasons for why I don't think it was good, but I was very disappointed by the end of it personally. But I still thought it was entertaining. I'm glad I watched it, but I frankly have lost all interest in season 3. Frankly, like I'm just not going to continue. Like, it was so much of an investment for frankly nothing. So yeah, I don't disagree. Actually, I thought it was the best episode of the season. I don't disagree. I think that speaks more to the season than of the episode, though, personally, because I think the season was just so boring and like the writing just wasn't that good. Characters were doing things that didn't make any sense. Things just didn't go, like there was no explanation for anything. Yeah, anyway, that is all. I don't want to ruin your day, and if you enjoyed it, I'm glad you enjoyed it. Yeah, let's see. If vanilla Chromium was completely non-reliant and unconnected from Google, there would be an ungoogled Chromium created. I understand that project 100% strips. Yep. Let's see. I'm off now. Yes, thank you for tuning in, Jay. I really appreciate the comments and questions that you left, and hopefully we'll see you next week. Thanks for your promise to take a more in-depth look at the openness. Yes, I'm one of the concerned camp of folks. Yeah, and I guess my only question is, like, let's say it's not open. Let's say it's like fully shut down. Why is it different than SMS? Like, why is it worse than SMS? Like, I'd love to hear like your reasons for why you think you're still worse off than SMS, which has literally zero protections. Like, I would argue even like clearly backdoored RCS end-to-end encryption, like even if it's like an obvious backdoor, is still actually better than SMS is just laughable. And I think RCS with end-to-end encryption is meant to replace SMS. It's not meant to replace Signal. So just some of my thoughts. First time joining live because I'm traveling in Japan and it's not nighttime. Have a good trip, Dominic. And I'm glad you're able to tune in even for a little bit. Yeah, do you think Yubico will offer its authenticator in the near future without a limited amount of accounts? I've reached the limit. I don't know, actually. I really wish they bumped up that limit. It seems like a silly restriction. So I don't have any insight, but I likewise hope that they improve it. Have a great day. I hope you have a great day too, RBQ. And thanks again for being a new member. I don't feel strongly about it. Yeah, okay, so fair. Do you think Snowden will ever get a pardon? Maybe someday, but I don't think anytime soon. I think he's still too polarizing and it's too unpopular to pardon Snowden, personally. And I don't know, it's been a pretty like across the aisle thing that no one has really wanted or committed to even like promising to pardon Snowden that I've seen, frankly. So that's gonna be a tough one. Yeah, and I'm all caught up on the live chat. So I'm gonna go ahead and do a final call. We've been live now for about 2 hours, which is a long time. And I still have some more things to edit and do today. So I'll go ahead and log off in like the next 5 or 10 minutes. So go ahead and start leaving all of your comments, all of your questions, any final wins. And again, while you're all getting those in the live chat, I want to quickly just showcase the fact that you can just go in the description right now and go to discuss.techlore.tech. And you can join next week's privacy wins. It's already live on the forum. You can just go, you know, even if you go to the last one, we already have week 47 that's live right here. And you can go ahead and leave your win here. And I'll go ahead and feature you in next week's live stream next Friday. It's a weekly thing. And I've been really liking these privacy wins, and it seems like a lot of you have been liking it as well. So, yeah. And with that said, I'll give you all a few minutes. Last calls again. Okay, we got a few here. Let's start with Austin. What are your thoughts on Nostr? Okay, I want to start by just leaving my thoughts on Nostr in terms of usability, because those are frankly most of my thoughts. I think the usability is really poor. I've used Primal, I've used pretty much every other major Nostr client looking for something decent, and it was always just a buggy mess to use. So I'm not even going to comment much on like the technology of it, if it's good. I actually think it's probably better than Twitter because it's a bit more decentralized, it's a bit more resilient. You have a bit more actual real freedom on Nostr than you do on Twitter. With that said, I think that like Nostr, to my view and what I've seen, doesn't have any inherent benefits to something like the Fediverse, like what you see with Mastodon or any alternative clients. And I think for the usability you get, it's very weak. I just really thought the mobile clients were bad. It was very slow. And I think maybe the one cool thing about Nostr is the whole like tipping system is really interesting. It's a cool concept to like somehow monetize the platform through like open standards. So I think that's really cool. So I'm not like anti-Nostr. I don't hate Nostr. I just, even for me as someone who's like tech savvy, I thought it was obnoxious to use. And I can't imagine that ever becoming mainstream in its current state. So those are kind of my current thoughts. With that said, I think you can actually like follow Mastodon pages from Nostr. So it's like really cool how open-ended it is, and there's a lot of potential there. And I hope that the user experience gets better, because I think that's personally what's holding it back. I also don't like the whole login flow. Like, I know why they do it that way, but I think it's silly how you know, if anyone gets your like private seed, they can log into your Nostr account. It's kind of not ideal. So just random thoughts I've had about Nostr. I don't have like a full breakdown, you know, in-depth response to all of my thoughts about Nostr written down. Just my initial thoughts. Do you like it, Austin? Like, definitely would like to know if it's something you enjoy and why. Fuzzy, it was nice tuning in for the first time. I'm low on money right now, but I'll see when I can support you. And again, like, guys, because I love the support. It's great, and like so many people supported us today, and you're all freaking awesome. But I always want to say this, like, please, if you're already like on a budget, like you're better off like using it towards services that will make you better and more private and secure. So not to discourage you from supporting us, because obviously it helps us, but also make sure like if you're on a budget, there are free ways to support us too. A great example of this, because I don't want you guys to like, it's for people who like have something like to spare and are willing to do it, so I'm not gonna say no to you. But if you're in a situation where you feel like you can't, on our website, if you go to techlore.tech to support, we literally have free support, and it's at the top of the page. Probably the best thing you can do. We actually make like decent money from it too. Like a lot of you do this. You just go to Techlore Tools and Affiliates, and if you go with any service on this list, just click the affiliate link before you buy it, and we get a kickback from that. So that's a really easy and no extra cost to you way to help us out as well. So if you really like Proton, you just click this link, and it'll take you to Proton Mail. And if you sign up through that link, then we get a kickback. So that is like a very easy way to support what we do, and it's a bit more budget friendly. I also already showed earlier, you can do this through our forum, but if you click subscribe here, we do just like individual tips. So you don't have to make it a like monthly thing. So just random things to throw your way if you're struggling at all, but you still want to support. Just want to make sure you have options. What education have you had? Like, did you take computer science classes and focus on privacy by yourself? Yeah, so I got into my original four-year university for software engineering, and I hated it, so I migrated to digital media, and it's been pretty much permanently on pause as I've been doing Techlore, and I have a full-time job with Cake Wallet. And I love digital media. I love being able to communicate. And pretty much what I learned is that I like very technical stuff, but what I like more than that is being able to communicate about it. And so I like having this what I think is my ability to take complicated concepts and make them easily digestible to all of you watching. And I think that's what I do best, and I like to lean into that. And I think digital media allowed me to really flex that hard and like learn new ways to like put things into video, into photo, into audio, and make it very clear for all of you, and just get better with my communication skills. So that's kind of been my journey to get where I am today. A lot of self-teaching, a lot of self-learning. There is no like privacy degree out there. So a lot of this is like from my own individual research and from other people who are doing fantastic work in the industry. So yeah, that's mostly what I have to say. Yeah, that's possibility. We don't know yet. So a lot of question marks. We don't know yet. About F-Droid again. If I uninstall the main F-Droid client, are all the apps I installed with it going to be uninstalled too, or do they just remain installed and show again on another client? I have not personally tested this, but I'm like almost completely certain if you uninstall F-Droid, your other apps will still stay there. That shouldn't uninstall all your other apps. As far as I know, I haven't personally ever done that, but I don't think it should do that. Let's see, is Aurora Store a virus, or the apps you download from Aurora Store shop a virus? No, it shouldn't be. As long as you're getting it from the safe, trusted place. And very big announcement. So if you guys haven't heard of it, a project that we do, I don't talk about it as much as I probably should. We run a project called Plexus. Let me show it to you. One second. So we run this project called Plexus. It's at plexus.techlore.tech. So you can search for things like Spotify and just, oh, and let me hide these again. So you can see there's ratings next to it. So what this corresponds to is micro G rating. It's out of 4, or just fully de-Googled rating. So what this means is that, here I can even hover over it, de-Googled score. So if you have a custom ROM and you have no micro G, no Google Play services, literally nothing, this shows that people, like all of you, left ratings. There's 27 ratings, and they reported that Spotify works without any Google Play services. And if you use micro G, it's pretty much almost perfect as well. So what I highly recommend if you want to contribute to like something really cool, Plexus is on F-Droid. Just search for Plexus, and it's also on GitHub, so you can just download the app here, plexus.techlore.tech. You can get it on F-Droid, Izzy's repo, or just download the APK from GitHub. And here's what the app looks like. And the cool thing about this is that you can submit these ratings yourself. It's all open source. And what you do is you just report whether or not the app works on your phone if you use a custom ROM. And then it helps other people see which apps work on their devices. And you know, the goal of this is so that people who aren't using custom ROMs can just see if they can move to a custom ROM. They can see compatibility of the apps they use. So let's say they use Bitwarden and Firefox, they can go ahead and check if it works on a custom ROM, and then they know, oh, okay, I can go ahead and move to a custom ROM. That's exciting. So this is a great thing to contribute to. It doesn't take very much time. It's all open source. And the reason I brought this up is that Aurora, the App Store, which you mentioned, now integrates with Plexus in version 4.7. So if you upgrade to Aurora version 4.7 and you scroll and open an app before you install it, at the very bottom it says like the compatibility for Plexus, and it will actually link you to that app. So you can click like view rating, and it'll show you the rating. And if you open Plexus in the app itself, it actually shows you what the ratings are and what issues people have, and sometimes there's workarounds, like someone is like, oh, if you do these things inside the app, you can actually still access this feature. So really cool service, and I highly recommend if you're watching to download that, totally free, and it helps a ton of people. Let's see. Your F-Droid downloaded apps will stay intact and remain usable on your device without having F-Droid. Updating those apps going forward will require other means. Yep, okay, that's kind of what I figured, so thank you for confirming. What are some good YouTube alternatives given that YouTube is affiliated with Google? Yeah, so there is Odyssey. We used to be on Odyssey mainly because it was very convenient to auto-sync from Odyssey. So if you published to YouTube, our video would end up on Odyssey like an hour later. They got rid of auto-sync mostly because of YouTube, but either way, a lot of people like Odyssey. I never loved Odyssey. It was never a platform that I felt very like good about, but it's perfectly fine. A lot of people love it. A lot of great creators I like are on it. I always preferred PeerTube because PeerTube is better in my opinion because it's fully decentralized. Like you host your own content, we host our own PeerTube instance, and at least for our content, you can watch our content from anywhere. Like there are open source PeerTube clients, you can watch it in the web, you can watch it on your dedicated clients, you can watch it in NewPipe, and everything is just accessible everywhere. We host the data ourselves, and that gives us full control over everything, something we could never do with Odyssey. And on top of that, it integrates with the Fediverse, so you can also gain access to it from Mastodon. You can follow us via RSS. You can do that with Odyssey as well. But also, back in the day, I didn't like how Odyssey was monetized and had ads. And so with PeerTube, there were no ads. It's also fully open source. So there's just lots of cool little things that PeerTube does. But it doesn't have anywhere near the amount of creators using it. So realistically, the answer is there is no good YouTube alternative that has all the same creators and that has all the same benefits that YouTube tends to provide. But you can use like clients to make it better. So you can use third-party clients to use YouTube in a more privacy-respecting manner. You can use RSS, which is the whole highlight of this episode today, to still watch YouTubers, but in a more like focused way. And you just fetch updates from individuals when you want them to. And outside that, you can always follow individual creators like ourselves on PeerTube, or if they're on Odyssey, or if they're on any of these other platforms. So those are kind of my general thoughts, but realistically, I think it's disingenuous to say sorry, that was my dog shaking. I think it's a bit disingenuous to say that there is like a clear-cut YouTube alternative that has all the same content, all the same creators, all the same features, and it has zero compromises. I should say. There's always going to be a compromise from what I've seen. So Yeah, and then, yeah, so this person brought up Nebula. The other issue with Nebula is it's not like open. So people have asked us why we aren't on Nebula. It's because I don't know how to join Nebula. Like, it's like this private only system where creators or like the team who's already in Nebula personally invites certain creators to join Nebula. I've never received an invite to Nebula, so I can't really tell you what that process is like or how I can even get in. And they don't really expand on this much on their website. So it'd be really cool. I think if we got an invite, I wouldn't be against posting on Nebula. But, and I think the user experience and everything might be really good, and it seems like a more sustainable business model than what YouTube does. But again, I just don't know because it's not really like open to everybody. Whereas our PeerTube is open to everybody. Like you don't need an account, you can always watch it. And I think that PeerTube is really fantastic and is like the most decentralized way to do things. But I think that comes at the usability like sacrifices that PeerTube comes with. So yeah, you have to be invited by another creator. Cool. It would be so great if content creators did a mass migration to PeerTube. Can find things on various, yeah, it's really cool. I haven't heard of this search. That could make PeerTube a lot more usable. So thank you. Yeah. All right, guys, I'm gonna get going. I'm getting tired and hungry, and I still have quite a bit more to do today. And I've been streaming now for like over 2 hours. So I'm gonna go ahead and start wrapping it up. I wanted to thank a lot of people today. I wanted to thank Johnny O. I wanted to thank everybody who joined our membership. I wanted to thank Anon, who sent us that $30 tip as well. And I wanted to thank everybody for leaving their questions in the live chat. I also really wanted to thank people who left their wins and helped. Like, this whole stream is for wins, right? Like, I'm showcasing your guys' wins. So thank you all for just being public about it, helping others out, sharing that good, positive energy with everybody else. And with me too. Like, I get value from it too. Like, it's cool to see you guys win and make progress. So it's nice to see it. And yeah, I think that's all I have. If you left any comments or you just watched and you were passive and you're just a lurker, I also want to thank you for listening. And all of you people watching this after the fact, thanks for making it all the way to the end. And I hope that you got a lot of little nuggets today and you learned a few things. A lot of this is on the spot, so if there's ever anything you're unsure about and you want to see more of, something a little bit more in depth, please leave it in the comments on YouTube, and it's something I can explore more thoroughly in a dedicated video. Because again, this is all in a live stream and I don't really do much prep. These are kind of my like on-the-spot thoughts on things. So take that with a grain of salt. With that said, thank you all for tuning in. I will see you next Friday. Watch out for